Good evening, everyone. The time is 7:35. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Good to see everyone here this evening. Councilwoman Jones, could you do the invocation, please?
Certainly. Our eternal God, our Father, we thank you so much for this day. We thank you, Father, for how you watched over us, how you kept us, how you blessed us, and how you've never left us. We thank you, Father, for you are a great and mighty God, an awesome God, and you can do anything but fail. Father, we now ask you to surround this meeting, oh God. Come in this meeting, oh God, as we do the business of the city of Glenarden. Father, we ask for your wisdom, for your clarity, for understanding, oh God, as to how the city should be moved forward. We thank you, Father, that what we do shall be done in decency and order and shall be done for your glory, Father. Everything that we do for the city of Glenarden, Father, is what you've called us to do. Thank you so much, Father, for your protection over our citizens, over our elected officials, and over all of the workers and admin, Lord, that help to assist in moving the city of Glenarden forward. It is in Jesus' mighty name that I pray and say, amen.
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 Madam Clerk, could you do the roll call, please?
Councilwoman Councilman Hairston?
Here.
Councilman Herring?
Here.
Councilwoman Jones?
Here.
Council Vice President Ferguson? Yes. And Council President Curtis.
Here.
Sorry, Councilman. I'm here. I did not hear Council Clerk call my name. I think you just can't hear on mine.
Same as this Councilwoman Young. And there's an echo on our end.
So moved.
There's second.
Council President, you hear us?
All right, say that again.
We
can't hear you.
All we heard was there a second. We didn't hear what you said before that.
And there's an echo on our end.
Is your sound
It's
off?
horrible. Echo.
Okay. If anyone in here has is also on the meeting, you would have to, could you please turn off the sound? I don't know if anyone's in here on the meeting, but if you are, please turn off the sound. Anybody over there on the meeting? Mayor Cross, are you on your meeting on your phone? You good? All right. Is the echo still there?
No.
Okay.
And we didn't hit
It's an echo on our end.
Yeah.
If somebody online is speaking, you hear them over and over.
It actually was when Mr. Gray was counting. I thought it was stopped, but it did not.
Oh, my sound is off. Is he unmuted? Oh, he just did. All right, how about now? Is it good? Councilwoman Guillaume, is it the echo when I speak or someone online?
Someone online.
Okay, so when I speak, it's fine.
Yes, we can hear you clearly now, but before we couldn't hear you at all. So when you make motions, no one online could hear you.
Okay. So what we'll do is, as Mr. Gray works on the online piece, since you guys can hear us clearly we'll try to move forward. Everyone online, please mute yourselves. And the only people who should unmute themselves be the council members when they're prepared to vote or speak. In the meantime, Mr. Gray, if you could work on that echo, that would be great.
Working on it.
All right. Councilwoman Fareed, could you just say something real quick so we can make sure we hear you?
Hello.
All right, we're good to go. We heard all the council members online. All right, so I'll start. So I asked for a motion to adopt the agenda. It was a motion by Councilman Jones. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Any opposition? Hearing none by unanimous consent, the agenda is hereby accepted. First on the agenda is it's only one. It's the minutes from, the minutes from January 2025, the work session, the regular session, and the public hearing. Is there a motion to bring this to a floor for a vote?
So move.
So moved by Councilman Herring. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Jones. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Any opposition to adopting the minutes? Hearing none by unanimous consent, the minutes from the January work session, public hearing, and regular session is hereby adopted. All right. Now we're moving on to legislation. First up is Ordinance 06-2025, an ordinance to increase the stipend of the City Council of Glenarden, Maryland. Madam Clerk.
Whereas the current salary for the City Council of the City of Glenarden, Maryland is currently $7,200, and whereas costs have risen significantly due to inflation, and whereas there is a need to continue to attract and encourage qualified and interested citizens to serve as elected officials, now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Glenarden, Maryland, sitting in regular session this 18th day of February 2025, that number one, the annual salary for the City Council of the City of Glenarden, applicable after the 2025 city election, is increased to $12,000. Two, this increase shall take effect with the passage of the 2026 fiscal year budget. Be it further resolved and ordained by the City Council of Glenarden that this ordinance is and shall become effective 20 days after its adoption or upon passage by the council over the mayor's veto, whichever is later.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion to bring this to the floor for a vote?
Point of order, Mr. President.
Yep.
This is the first reading.
This is, you're right. It
This is the first reading. And they need to put that on the legislation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It is the first reading, so it's not being
There's no
voted on.
action, yeah.
There's no action. Yeah, all right. With that, we'll move on to ordinance, sorry. Yes, escaped me. 07-2025, an ordinance to amend the FY25 budget for the purpose of reallocation of expenses in the budget.
Whereas the City of Glenarden is a municipal corporation of the state of Maryland and operating under Article 11E of the Constitution of Maryland and Section 5-202 of the Annotated Code of Maryland as amended, and whereas under the Charter, Article 6, General Powers of the Council, Section 602, 5, appropriations. It states that the City Council has the authority to appropriate municipal monies for any purpose within the powers of the council. And whereas the City Council desires to reallocate funding for retirement benefits in the amount of $67,774 from the regular employee and employee Social Security budget lines that currently have a surplus from July 2024 to December 2024, as indicated in Section 2 below. Whereas under the City of Glenarden Charter, Article 3, Section 308E states, an emergency ordinance shall become effective on the date specified in the ordinance, but no ordinance shall become effective until approved by the mayor or passed over his or her veto by the City Council. And whereas the City Council has the ultimate fiduciary responsibility to steward municipal monies and deem the following additional appropriation to the fiscal year 2025 city budget to be necessary to allow expenditure of city funds as follows. Section 1, calculations. A, the the savings for the salary and Social Security is based on the total budgeted for fiscal year divided by 2, 1/2 of the fiscal year less the current year actual. For example, administrative salaries, $360,015 divided by 2 would be $180,008 minus $111,464 would equal $68,544. B, the remainder of the retirement benefits is calculated by dividing the budgeted salaries by 2, then multiplied by the rate increase of 4.5. For example, salaries $360,015 divided by 2 is $180,008 times 4.5%, which equals $8,100. C, unused, is the total of the salary and Social Security savings less retirement amount. For example, admin $68,544 plus $5,356 minus $8,100 equals $65,800. Section 2, reallocation of appropriation from regular employee and employer Social Security lines to retirement benefits in the fiscal year 25 budget appropriations as follows. Department.
I don't think you have to read all of it.
I don't think she needs to read all of it.
Yeah, no, she doesn't. You can switch to the now therefore.
Okay, now therefore, be it ordained by the City Council of Glenarden, Maryland, sitting in regular session this 18th day of February 2025, that this ordinance is hereby declared approved. Be it further resolved and ordained by the City Council, by the City Council of Glenarden, Maryland, that this ordinance, is and shall become effective immediately following approval by the mayor or passage by the council over the mayor's veto.
Thank you. And this is also the first reading. I don't think there's a valid reason for it to be an emergency ordinance. There has to be a valid reason. If any council member wants to switch this to an emergency,
Yeah, I don't see a valid reason for it.
yeah, if you have a valid reason, that's fine. But
This is the first reading.
no, this is the first reading. All right. So then, with this being the first reading, then I'm gonna ask to table R34-2025 so that people can feel comfortable with it being in the budget, because it's not in the budget right now. So I motion that we table R34-2025, a resolution to increase retirement benefits to city employees until the regular session in March.
So moved. For second.
Any discussion? Any opposition? All right. Hearing none, the motion passes. We will hear this in March. Next is Resolution 37-2025, A resolution safeguarding immigrant communities. Madam Clerk.
Whereas the
Council President,
That's the clerk's mic.
it is.
the clerk's mic isn't working or there's like some feed.
Yes. Thank you. I think it's the mic. Thank you. Okay, whereas the City of Glenarden is a diverse and inclusive community that values the contributions of all residents, including immigrants, and is committed to ensuring their safety and well-being, and whereas Maryland state law does not require local jurisdictions to enforce federal immigration laws, and the Maryland Trust Act of 2021 prohibits law enforcement agencies from inquiring about an individual's immigration status, detaining individuals solely for federal immigration enforcement purposes, or using public resources to assist federal immigration enforcement agencies in non-criminal immigration matters, and whereas Prince George's County has established policies that limit cooperation with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, including prohibiting county law enforcement from honoring ICE detainer requests without a judicial warrant, recognizing that local law enforcement of federal immigration laws erodes trust between immigrant communities and law enforcement, making communities less safe. And whereas public safety in the City of Glenarden depends on fostering trust between residents and local law enforcement, ensuring that all individuals, regardless of immigration status, feel safe reporting crimes, seeking emergency assistance, and engaging with local government services. And whereas sensitive locations, including but not limited to churches, schools, healthcare facilities, public parks, libraries, and community centers, should be places where all residents can access resources and services without fear of immigration enforcement actions. And whereas the City of Glenarden recognizes that the role of local law enforcement is to uphold local and state laws, maintain public safety, and build positive relationships with residents, and not to enforce federal immigration laws. And whereas the City of Glenarden stands firmly against xenophobic policies that discriminate against individuals based on national origin, ethnicity, or immigration status, and will not be complicit in any actions that marginalize or target immigrant communities. And whereas the City of Glenarden seeks to reaffirm its commitment to protecting the rights and dignity of all residents by ensuring that its local resources, including its police department, are not used to carry out federal immigration enforcement activities without due process. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Glenarden that number one, commitment to public safety for all residents. The City of Glenarden is committed to fostering a safe, welcoming, and inclusive community where all individuals, regardless of immigration status, can live without fear of discrimination, intimidation, or xenophobic policies. Number two, rejection of xenophobic policies. The City of Glenarden affirms its opposition to any federal, state, or local policies that discriminate against individuals based on national origin, ethnicity, or immigration status. B, the city will not adopt, enforce, or comply with any measures that contribute to racial profiling, discriminatory enforcement, or unjust detainment of immigrant residents. 3, limitation on cooperation with ICE. A, the Glenarden Police Department shall not inquire about an individual's immigration status except as required by law or in cases where it is directly relevant to a criminal investigation. B, the Glenarden Police Department shall not honor ICE detainer requests or administrative warrants that are not signed by a federal judge. C, no city employee or department shall use public resources, including personnel, funds, or equipment to assist ICE in the enforcement of federal immigration laws unless required by law. 4, designation of sensitive areas. The City of Glenarden affirms that schools, places of worship, healthcare facilities, public parks, libraries, and other city-operated facilities are sensitive areas where all residents should feel safe from federal immigration enforcement actions. Number 5, non-discriminatory city services. No city agency shall deny services or benefits based on an individual's immigration status, ensuring equitable access to city resources and protections. 6, commitment to trust and inclusion. The City of Glenarden will continue to engage with community organizations, legal advocates, and residents to ensure that its policies reflect its commitment to protecting immigrant communities and upholding civil rights. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution shall be transmitted to the Governor of Maryland, the Prince George's County Executive, the Maryland General Assembly, and other relevant agencies to affirm the City of Glenarden's stance on public safety, immigrant protections, and the rejection of xenophobic policies.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. President.
Councilman Harry?
Yeah, I guess my question is, and it was the same question I had at the work session, again, is I'm not understanding what the purpose of this legislation is doing. It says to safeguard our immigrant community, but how are we safeguarding them with this piece of legislation? I'm not understanding what in this legislation is going to safeguard the immigrant community. Again, my concern is that, again, we bring in legislation that's going to actually put a target on immigrant communities. From what I understand, they were up in law. The ICE was up in law today. So us doing this legislation saying, hey, we're not going to do this because we got an immigrant population, I think is putting a target on their back, and they'll probably roll up in here soon because of we're just basically advertising the fact that we have this population. Like I said, as I said publicly, I'm completely against illegal immigration, but I don't want to see people being harassed and put out of their homes when they don't have to. I think that, again, they're getting afraid of stuff like this, and they're not even taking their kids to school, because they're scared that ICE is going to pull the parents when they go pick up the kids. Again, on line number 34 on the first page, it says, where sensitive locations, including but not limited to churches, schools, healthcare facilities, public parks, and community centers shall be safe places where all residents can access resources and services without fear of immigration enforcement actions. That's actually no longer true with the executive order by President Trump lifting that policy that ICE can now go into all of the places that are listed on here and search. They're no longer safe havens. So I'm not sure why that's in there. That needs to come out. Again, I have a big problem with this piece of legislation because on page 2, line 52, it says the City of Glenarden affirm its opposition to any federal, state, or local policies that discriminate against individuals based on national origin, ethnicity, or immigration status. Now, I have not seen any policies yet that, you could say it discriminates on immigration status. I haven't seen anything legally out there that's out there. Is this saying that if immigration is saying this person is illegal, that we will not honor that policy, that we're in opposition to any federal, state, or local policy? I guess it leads to interpretation, because if you're thinking that ICE should not come into, say, this building and grab somebody and they got a right to do it, are we going to say, okay, well, it's a discriminatory policy, so we're not going to follow it? I'm not understanding what that whole language is for. One of the big things I have with this also is that we took an oath as council members when we got sworn in. And it reads as follows. That he or she shall support the Constitution of the United States, will bear faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of Maryland, and support the Constitution and laws thereof. So to sit there and say we're not going to honor detainer requests, or we're going to not follow through on what is required of us as elected officials. An oath is an oath, and I don't feel that we should be voting on a piece of legislation that's going to require us to violate that oath when it comes down to your immigration status. No, we don't have to check it. We don't have to sit there and micromanage who's illegal, who's not illegal. But I don't think we should put in place a piece of paper that's basically saying that we should not follow whatever the Constitution or the federal government and the laws thereof state we need to follow. So, and like I said, the biggest thing is I really feel that this just puts a target on people's back in this community. Again, you're basically waving a flag out there saying, here they are, come and get them. Because I'm telling you, when you got somebody in the White House like this, the president we have now, they got little minions all over the place looking at TV and surfing the internet and doing all other kind of things to find out where they are. Because, it's almost like Nazi Germany now. You got to, be careful what you say and be careful who you recognize because they're watching you. And it's sad we're in this type of environment, but we are. And this piece of legislation, I guarantee you, will attract attention. And I don't think we should be putting that out there. So that's my feelings, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Herring. Is there any other discussion? All right. Hearing none, we'll move forward with a voice vote.
Okay.
Madam Clerk?
Thank you. Councilwoman Fareed?
Yes.
Council Vice President, I'm sorry. Council Vice President, thank you.
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume?
Yes.
Councilman Hairston?
Abstain.
Councilman Hairston? I'm sorry, Herring?
Abstain.
Okay, Councilwoman Jones?
Yes.
And Council President Curtis?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. R 37-2025 passes. Next up is R 38-2025, a resolution affirming the City of Glenarden's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. Madam Clerk.
Whereas the City of Glenarden recognizes that diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, are fundamental principles essential to fostering a thriving, inclusive, and prosperous community, and whereas the City of Glenarden is committed to ensuring that every resident, regardless of race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, ability, social, economic status, or background, has equal access to opportunities, resources, and the ability to participate fully in civic and economic life, and whereas the ideals of DEI are deeply rooted in our nation's founding principles and have been reaffirmed through historic legislative actions such as the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and other policies aimed at advancing justice and equal opportunity for all, and whereas research and experience demonstrate that communities that embrace DEI principles benefit from enhanced innovation, economic growth, and a stronger sense of belonging among residents, and whereas the City of Glenarden is committed to adopting policies and practices that promote DEI across all municipal operations, including hiring and employment practices, public engagement, service delivery, economic development and education, and whereas the City of Glenarden seeks to lead by example in fostering a welcoming environment where all individuals feel valued, respected, and empowered to contribute to the success and progress of the community, and whereas municipalities play a critical role in enacting policies that ensure equitable opportunities and dismantle systemic barriers that prevent full participation in society, and whereas the City of Glenarden encourages other local municipalities to enact and uphold policies that affirm DEI and promote equitable access to opportunities and resources for all residents. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Glenarden that, number one, the City of Glenarden affirms its commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion as a core value and guiding principle in governance, policymaking, and municipal operations. The City of Glenarden pledges to continue developing and implementing DEI-centered policies in hiring, workforce development, procurement, community engagement, and public service delivery. 3, the City of Glenarden encourages its businesses, schools, community organizations, and other institutions within the city to adopt and uphold DEI principles that foster inclusivity, remove barriers to opportunity, and promote equitable economic and social outcomes. Number 4, the City of Glenarden will work collaboratively with local, state, and national partners to advocate for policies and initiatives that advance DEI and ensure that all individuals have the resources and support needed to achieve their full potential. Number 5, the City of Glenarden calls upon other municipalities to join in this effort by enacting policies that affirm and strengthen DEI initiatives to build more inclusive and equitable communities. Be it further resolved that copies of this resolutions be forwarded to relevant local, state, and national organizations, elected officials, and community stakeholders to affirm the City of Glenarden's commitment to fostering an inclusive and equitable society.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion to bring this resolution to the floor for a vote?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. President.
Councilmember Herring.
Again, I'm not understanding what this piece of legislation is actually doing. I've been on this council for 20 years, and we've never had a problem with diversity, equity, or inclusion. I think we've been more inclusive, and we as an African American community are very accepting and inviting of most people. I think sometimes that's our biggest downfall sometimes. But I'm not understanding this. I mean, I can see. I mean, most of the, like I said, most of the seminars I had on this were basically talking about, in the workplace. I'm not getting it. I'm just not understanding why this is being brought here in the African American community. We've been here for 80 years and we've never had any issues so far with diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm just not. I don't get it. I'm just trying to figure out what are we. I mean, I hear what you're trying to say, but what do you see that we need this? Councilwoman Fareed.
Councilwoman Fareed.
Council President, is this a debate or a vote?
During discussion, he had a question of you, so he can't ask a question.
I felt the need to bring this about, given the fact that diversity, equity, and inclusion is being challenged, and many are being forced to reverse their commitment to DEI. In fact, just this evening, schools were threatened with executive order by the Department of Education that if they did not roll back any diversity, equity, or inclusion initiatives or anything that could be perceived as that, their federal funding would be threatened. Other municipalities have been threatened with this and have decided to forego any potential federal funding because they want to stand on what their beliefs are and what their commitments are. That is why this is being brought forward. If someone disagrees with it, they can vote no or abstain.
Again,
Thank you.
Again, I'm really not understanding. Sometimes I think legislation to be legislation is just not. I just don't see it. I just think that it makes no sense that we're trying to push a policy that we in this community do not actually need. I mean, my thing with the example she just gave, what does this policy do to those people who actually, where they have an issue in the school system? We can't do anything about it. The federal government is the one that's giving grant money and giving funding for these schools, and if they pull it, they pull it. And is this council ready to say we're not taking any money from the federal government because of what they're doing somewhere else? Because we're going to follow this DEI policy? Because if we are, we need to not be voting on anything that comes with spending money, because we get federal dollars. The ARPA money is federal dollars. I just really don't see the need for this piece of legislation. I just don't understand. It makes it seem like we have a problem when we don't have a problem. It's like everybody's jumping on board to DEI, but what are you doing about it? I mean, okay, you passed a piece of legislation, what next? I mean, where's the issue? Where's the problem? And that's what I'm saying. You passed a piece of legislation to address a problem. I don't see the problem when it comes down to the City of Glenarden and diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think quite a few of our city managers have been Caucasian. We've had, employees that were Caucasian, Hispanic. We've hired whoever was qualified as department heads. One of my longest serving chiefs of police was, Caucasian, and we had no problem hiring them. We had a woman police chief before them. So I'm not understanding this. I guess I lived in the city long enough to know how we move as a community, and that we've always been inclusive and inviting. So I don't even see why this piece of legislation is really needed. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Harry. Is there any other discussion? I will say that while I agree with Mr. Harry that the city of Glenarden has been a very welcoming city of all races, ethnicities, gender, sexual orientation, it doesn't matter. We want to, one, for the city workers attract the best talent no matter what or who you are. And residents, I love my neighbor no matter, what and who you are. And so I agree with Councilman Herring that this city has always been that a beacon for diversity. However, I also am aware that speaking up means a lot to people. And so if I can affirm where I already stand, then I think that can speak volumes to people who, in a time where hope has diminished, are curious as to where people stand in an environment where everything right now is just kind of a haze. So I agree on both sides. Say yes, we already are a beacon for diversity, equity, inclusion, but I also know that affirming it gives people hope. So with that, there's no other discussion. Madam Clerk, could you do the roll call, please?
Councilman Fareed?
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume?
Yes.
Councilman Hairston?
Yes.
Councilman Herring?
Let me say before I vote, I think you give people hope by your actions. I think you give people hope by doing and showing. Anybody can vote on a piece of legislation, but what are you going to do after this? That's the question. It's one thing to sit there and wave this in front of people's faces and say, look what I voted on, look what I voted on. It's another thing to go out there on the streets and talk to the people and address their situations and address their issues. So I don't feel we need it. I feel that Glenarden has been, as the Council President said, a beacon of diversity, inclusion, and equity. I think the people do a fantastic job, and I don't think they need to be legislated or told that they need to follow it or a policy need to be in place for them to follow, like we're going to sit there and chastise them as if they are children. They're doing what they need to do. They've been doing it for 80 years. That's how we got where we are. So I abstain from this vote.
Councilwoman Jones?
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferguson?
Yes.
Council President Curtis?
Yes. All right. That is the end of the legislative portion of our agenda. We'll move on to reports. Are there any questions from council members on the mayor's January 2025 report?
Yes, Mr. President.
Councilmember Harry.
Mayor, I read your report and I'm trying to figure out what I see everything in here, but what's going on in the city of Glenarden. I mean, it's stuff all over Maryland and Prince George's County and NAACP, PGCMA, but where's your report on the actions and the activities in the city of Glenarden that you either sponsored or that you're working on or that you're doing? I don't see anything in here.
Mayor Cross.
Thank you for the question. And the key is, as the executive of this city, one of the key things that I'm supposed to be doing, which is what I'm doing in this 447 legislative session, is ensuring the future survivability of the city of Glenarden. Noting that there is tons of federal level changes going on, what you'll read in the mayor's report is that not only are we looking at health equity, but also appraisals, because with many people losing their jobs, one of the key things that we need to be taking care of is making sure that that 447th legislative session makes appropriate legislation that enables our citizens to survive. So the work that happens in Annapolis, it is the strategic level work that will come through the county down to the city of Glenarden. We cannot take our eyes off of Annapolis. The other key thing is, as we're looking at all the expungement fairs that the city of Glenarden has had, one of the key things that we need to acknowledge that there are some severe changes that legislators are making that will help and enable our youth as well as those who have been now benefiting from the expungement, particularly as we look at now laws changing, particularly say with cannabis. So all of the stuff that I'm doing is ensuring the future survivability of Glenarden. Not only have I signed ordinances that enabled our cable television to be reinstated, but I've also worked towards signing and preparing for this year's future budgets, which will be hopefully presented to you by the middle of next month. So the works that I'm doing here is ensuring that Glenardeners can survive. It's one thing to have a local legislation, but it is another when at the state level we do not have the fiduciary nor the legislative support which will continue to protect our citizens. That's what this is about.
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, let me just say this, Mayor, because that last statement is completely wrong with what you said. Senator Benson has been a great asset to the city of Glenarden. We have her legislative support in there. We have 3 delegates, Delegate Jazz Lewis, Delegate Tiffany Austin, and Delegate Andrea Harrison, who work tirelessly for the city of Glenarden. If we need something, they come out and they give it to us. They support us on whatever we do. But I'm just saying, again, if you need to know, these positions are grassroots. These positions are out on the street. These positions, we touch the people as we see them as we go through the street. When I'm cutting my grass, somebody will stop me and ask me to address an issue. That's what we do. Now, it's all nice to go to these meetings in Maryland and in Annapolis and Prince George's County, but what are you bringing home? That's what I'm saying. I'm not seeing nothing coming in from what you're doing. It's legislation. It's legislation for a whole. The state of Maryland is facing a $3 billion deficit. I guarantee there's going to be some major cuts. Prince George's County is projecting a $170 million deficit, which will balloon because when the states start cutting, they're going to cut from Prince George's County, and when Prince George's County starts cutting, they're going to cut from the municipalities. So I'm just saying, again, there's a lot of things that we address as a council that you really don't give any input on. We have topics of discussion and things that we have that we address in here as a body. And you say you're the chief executive officer, you don't give any input on that, but you give us this report that has all of this information about what's going on in the state of Maryland and why it's informative. I'm just saying, how is that going to address the situation with, the students in the community, or the kids that Sylvania Woods is going to a poor performing school, or the fact that Glenarden Woods was closed down and turned into a tag school and kids was kicked out? Have you went to the school board? Have you talked to the school board official on that issue? I mean, there's issues in the community right now that we need to look at to help bring equity, diversity, and inclusion, which I can say again, since I've been on the council and I've been working to try to get these schools with some parity when it comes down to education, I haven't seen anybody jump on that bandwagon. I had maybe a couple of council members that tried to jump on it, but it hasn't moved anywhere. So we just passed a piece of legislation for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and we have 2 schools that are very not equitable, not inclusive, and unfair. So I'm just saying, Mayor, again, there's issues in the city that need to be addressed, and I'm just trying to figure out, what are you doing as the mayor in this community when it comes down to providing services for the citizens in this community that's going to improve the quality of life for them? Again, your report is informative about what's going on down in Maryland and in Annapolis. They have an agenda, but you don't affect anything that they do down there. You know, their decisions are going to be made, and those decisions will flow down to us by way of our elected officials in Annapolis, but not through you. So I just wanted to, Mr. President, I'm done.
Thank you, Councilman Bahari. Are there any other questions related to the mayor's report? I'm sorry, Mr. Gray, I can't see on the TV, I can't see if anyone has their hand up. Could you display it on the TV in council chambers, please? I can also check online. Thank you. All right. Seeing no other hands for the mayor's comments on the mayor's report, we will move on. City Manager.
Yes, Council President. Just want to give a couple of quick highlights. We are and have reposted the Director of Public Works position. We had 2 particular interviews. One went really, really well. I think because of the holiday time frame in which we posted it, we wanted to repost it to provide more options relative to that to be able to present to council once we have selected a candidate. The assistant city manager position is also being finalized. I believe that's been sent out to all council members. We've made the necessary adjustment to some of the feedback, and we like to be able to finalize that, and we'll need your approval from that standpoint. As mentioned by the mayor, we will be starting our budget process and hopes to be able to bring information to you all, to the council with the budget in March and try to have that on time this year. We have made some headway with the GPS devices. We have 3 vehicles currently that still need the devices to be installed on them, but all other devices have been installed. With that being said, I am open for any questions.
Are there any questions for the city manager? Councilman Bahari.
Mr. Simpson.
Yes, sir.
You just spoke on the GPSs. You said there's only 3 vehicles left out there for it to be installed on?
Yes, sir. So we confirmed today the EV vehicle. So we have 3 devices that are being delivered. We haven't, I don't think it's updated on Monday.com as of today. We had the request for the devices. It looks like there was a mix-up with the last 3 being delivered to us. We contacted Links Up, and they're going to be resending those devices, and hopefully we'll have them before week's end.
Okay, because right now, Monday.com saying 12. So is this updated regularly? So my thing is, this isn't any good if they're not populating it. It's saying 12 cars still need GPS.
Yeah, no, it needs to be updated. It has not been updated today, but we will update it today.
Another thing, I'm not sure who's updating this, who you got working on this, but they're updating this with information, and they're saying that this information that they're putting in here is accurate. Are they verifying that this GPS device is on this car, or are they just putting the stuff in here? Because again, if there's a mix-up and it's not right, who's going to be held responsible? The person that entered it or the person that installed it on the car?
So with Links Up, we went through this today actually with HR to verify that each vehicle matches the VIN number and to make sure it is showing live on the actual system. So my hope is once the final devices are installed, we'll be able to provide a walkthrough to demonstrate how it works so that and invite council to be able to see how it works as HR is finally trained on that, as well as the department heads.
Okay. Another question is, I wait till the finance to get to that because I'm going to ask 3 people. I guess last night I was up till like 1 in the morning going through video because I was trying to find the gold room crap stuff that we were looking at. We were trying to figure out.
Yes, sir.
So I finally found it. But while doing that, I saw a video back in July 2024 where we talked about Church Street, Glenarden Parkway, and Hayes Street. And I'm asking what is taking so long for that? I mean, really, 'cause I know we spoke about it, but then when I saw the video, I'm just like, okay, that was back in July. What is going on that we can't get a sidewalk on Church Street? By the time we get the sidewalk on Church Street, the kids will be out of school at the rate we're going.
Well, my hope is that in March we'll have all of the streets, including Church Street as well. I think the transitions that we've had from acting city manager, and a few other things have gone on may have pushed that into a space, and then we came into the winter months. I'm definitely determined and dedicated to make sure, as we've done some of the other sidewalk work and the one on Glenarden Parkway. So I do apologize for any delays associated with that.
Yeah, because I'm telling you, because when we spoke to, who's the concrete company?
Nelson, NZI.
NZI. Mm-hmm. He said, I can get this all done by December 31st. And then it seemed like it just fell by the wayside. Looking in Monday.com, it's not even a project in here. So how serious are we about doing that? I mean, I see every other project in here, but I don't see the sidewalks for Glenarden Parkway, Church Street, or Hayes Street in this, even in the projects, even as one of the projects. I think it frustrates me because I see how bad that street is getting. I see how dangerous the sidewalks are, and I see these kids walking down the street. And we should have had that sidewalk done when we mentioned it in July. We should have had it done by the time school was open. At least if you didn't get that done, at least get that sidewalk done, you know. And that's frustrating me because, again, some projects are getting knocked out the ballpark. They're getting done. They're knocking them out the way. But it seems like, I'm gonna say this, ones in Ward 1, see, I get dragging their feet. You know, all three of those projects are in Ward 1. And I'm not understanding why, again, my ward got to wait 9 months to get streets and sidewalks. You know, so I'm starting to feel some kind of way about this because, again, I've seen other wards get what they needed to get immediately, and things have gotten done. So, like I said, they need to get on that and get that taken care of. Again, Hayes Street is getting worse and worse, and somebody's going to, actually, I think I had to get my axle replaced. I probably busted on Hayes Street. Maybe I should send y'all the bill. But, but I'm just saying, that's what we got to look at, because that is a hazard. That is a terrible hazard. And somebody is going to, as it gets deeper, and we still have the snow and the freezing and thawing, it's getting deeper, somebody's going to really damage their car. I mean, I ride everybody goes on the opposite side of the street now because it's so deep. But I'm just saying, again, these projects need to be taken care of, and they need to be taken care of in a more expeditious way. Another question I have is the police building. I know we discussed the assessment, the $100,000 assessment that they're trying to do, feasibility study for the lots. And I shared with you and the council, information that I had, the resolution that I had that shows that we actually did do a feasibility study on all three of those lots, and they were deemed to be okay to build on. So I'm hoping we're not moving forward with spending that $100,000 again. Only thing we need to look at is if we bump. The only thing we didn't look at is if we bump out the back of this building. Is it feasible to do that, and what a cost estimate would be? We had it done back in 2009, and the legislation that I shared with you. Can I share my screen right quick, Ms. President?
Hold on, let me see. The access.
You got it.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah. So this is a resolution that we passed back in 2011.
You have to just scroll to make it bigger for people inside. And Mr. Gray, could you move the video panel to, thank you.
Yeah, so in 2009, we actually contracted with ECS Mid-Atlantic, which is an engineering firm, to do an assessment on the lot back there, and then we also added the lot by between the church and Horse and Dickey's, and the lot right here across the street on the corner by the red light. So those were already done, and they were found that they are buildable lots, which I said before, and I'm just hoping that we don't move forward with that $100,000 assessment. Because again, we're spending money like it's water, and I'm telling you, when we're looking at a $3 billion deficit from the state and $170 million deficit from the county, something's getting cut, and we're not going to be getting the funds that we normally get like we were getting before. So I'm just asking that we just look at that and move forward with trying to, I guess, see what type of building we're going to get. Again, I also shared the diagram and the architectural drawing that we got from the architect that did it when the Petrie Ross Ventures was doing the building over there, and what the layout for it would be and everything. So, I mean, and even they, back then, even they came to us and said, you got 3 lots, you need to pick one. So we just was going back and forth picking lots, and we never got anything built. So, like I said, I guess, we really need to look at, not only do we have a fiduciary responsibility, but every department head in this organization has one too. And we can't continue to sit there and just blow money without really finding out what's going on. I know I said 3 or 4 times about those lots are buildable, that the study was done on them. Nobody wanted to believe me. Y'all went and got that $100,000 assessment that y'all getting ready to do. I said, I'm going to find it. I went and found it. Had to go up in the attic, pull down some boxes. I almost fell down the ladder, but I got it. But but I was gonna because I want to save the city $100,000. That's as simple as that. That's what it's about. Why keep on spending money, good money after bad? But that's what we do. So again, I just want to make sure that we are on target with these projects, and that we're definitely looking at. And being very diligent when it comes down to these contracts and how we move with those. All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I just want to interject. Thank you for almost falling down the ladder.
Yeah, I know you. I know you wish I would have, because I wouldn't have been here tonight.
No. And this is where your history and 20 years being on this council brings insight and help. We didn't have this feasibility study, and it's helpful to have it. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Now we have to make sure that we can actually, find a partner to use this feasibility study. I'm not an expert in that, but hopefully you do. Councilwoman Jones?
Thank you, Council President. I'm looking at this resolution in 2011, and it says, line 34 says, whereas the Phase 1 environmental site assessment was completed by ECS Mid-Atlantic LLC in November 2009, and a report of the assessment has been received by the city. It wasn't attached to this resolution. Was the city able to find the document, that the 2009 document?
We were still looking for it. Because somebody took all our books. 2008, 2009 legislation is gone. So somebody took the books, so we're still trying to track that down.
And it looks like maybe we're just looking at environmental conditions. It says, whereas documented in the report, there is no evidence of recognized environmental conditions on the property. So I would really like to see that 2009 report, but 2009, I'm not sure that would be comparable for where the city is trying to go today. I'm sure that any builder or developer would want to reassess probably what was, if this report can be located, that report. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you.
Mr. President, may I? Because I want to clear something up with this report.
Yes, Councilman Harris.
Again, like I said, it says that, so you know that this environmental assessment was basically what it was. They'd see if the environment is conducive to building a building of that size and scope on it, and that's what they did. They came out, they did their borings, they did everything they needed to do to say that this piece of property is environmentally sound to be able to hold this building on here, a 2-story building. That's what it was. And as a matter of fact, like I say, we also had them do the 2 other lots too. So, you know, it's been done. There were 2, and the thing about it is that across the street, there was Jones Tavern was on the corner, so the building was already there. It was just torn down. And between the Harrelson Dickies and the church, the bank was there, so a building was there. So we know those lots are buildable. So you don't even need to have an assessment to say that. And I'm telling you, rocks don't grow and grass don't move. And that will not hold up a building being built. So if it was done in 2009, the lots haven't changed, they haven't been moved unless something's going on underneath it. We don't know. I mean, we know it isn't because the lots are still there. Only lot that was in question was the one across the street here, and that's because it has no infrastructure on it. So to build there would be very expensive because it has no water, sewer, or electricity. So that's the only difference. All right, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Herring. We're all good with the city manager report? All right.
Yeah.
Moving on. Oh, public works is done too? Okay. Moving on to the code report. Mr. Green.
Good evening. Can everyone hear me? Yes. Awesome. I just want to take a moment to highlight a few things on the code enforcement report, if I may. The part-time code enforcement officer position has been advertised, and we've received resumes for that position, so we will be reaching out and starting to try to hire for that particular position. Code enforcement continues to receive negative feedback from the citizens as it relates to enforcement of trailers. They state to us that their quality of life will be negatively impacted by not being able to park trailers within the city limits. Also, the city has been granted permission to initiate the abatement at the property at 8700 block of Glenarden Parkway across from the library. Okay. We anticipate initiating that at the beginning to middle of March. As well, we continue to see citizens use car covers to hide code violations with vehicles. I talked to a citizen today that has a code violation on their vehicle, and he said, well, I'm just going to cover it with a car cover. And I had an in-depth discussion with that particular citizen about that your vehicle still have to be operable. You just can't put a car cover over it to hide the code violations. And this particular citizen understood. So again, I would like to partner up with the City Council to enact at least bring some legislation that that addresses this particular issue that we're seeing happen within the city. Any questions?
Can you be a little bit more specific? Bring legislation to do what?
As far as to address the car covers that's being used to conceal code violations.
Because it will be unlawful for you to take the cover off.
Correct. But once we see it, it has to be addressed. But many people just, again, they're just put a car cover over it, thinking that the problem has been resolved, and it has not.
And this is an inoperable vehicle or something?
Inoperable vehicle, it could be because you have a flat tire. This particular situation, the citizen had a flat tire, and instead of fixing the flat tire, she said that she's just going to put a car cover over top of it. There are other issues that facilitate a vehicle being inoperable, and again, they're putting car covers over it to negate having to have to fix the inoperable vehicle. And what I'm concerned with is that word will start to spread that the city of Glenarden is a safe haven to where if you have a vehicle that's inoperable, you could just bring it to the city, put a cover on it, and just be done with it.
Is it in their driveway or on the street?
It's in their driveway.
I'm sorry, was that all?
That was it, yes.
Are there any questions for Mr. Green?
Yes. So,
Councilman Harris?
Mr. Green, you know that they passed the commercial parking rule that allows commercial vehicles in the city. Talk about DEI, but that allows commercial vehicles in the city. So that actually goes into effect on the 24th. Is your team ready to start doing what they need to do to cite these vehicles that are in violation?
Yes, we've already been having conversation with citizens within the city ahead of time about the new regulation as it relates to commercial vehicles.
Because
work vans, pickup trucks, etc.
Right. Because like I said, in my ward again, when that legislation passed, vans all over the place. Parked on the street, they all over the place. In the driveways, on the street, especially on Hayes Street. So again, I've always said it was a bad piece of legislation. I knew this was going to happen. And now, again, the city's going to look like a commercial district. So it's going to be important that get enforced. That, because again, people are not reading the whole thing. All they're hearing is that you can bring cars, like you just say, you can bring vans and commercial vehicles now to the city of Glenarden. And they're parked there. As a matter of fact, I saw somebody one that's been sitting there forever. The battery went dead. They had to charge up the battery. It's been sitting there for months now. I thought they were using it, but nah, that battery was dead. So, again, I just want to make sure that y'all are ready to enforce it on the 24th.
Yes, sir. If that's Council President, may I?
Hey, one second. Is that the parking permit?
No, it's the commercial vehicle ordinance that was passed that allowed vehicles up to 8,500. Up to 8,500 pounds to park. Commercial vehicles up to 8,500 pounds to park in the city. Okay. Taking down the value of the community and the homes that reside in it.
You can respond.
No, I just wanted to let Councilman Herring know that we're creating a flyer. It's going to have a QR code on it so that it will take citizens directly to the legislation so they can have the full legislation and they can read what the actual law says regarding that. But we've already started reaching out to citizens and talking with them about it already. Okay, all right, thank you.
As it relates to the issue of parking on the street, where are we with the parking permit?
There's some clarification that's needed. I've sent around an email to all of the city council members. Today I received some feedback from Council Vice President Ferguson. She has some concerns. And what I've asked the city manager, and he and I are working together to try to get this done, is to set a meeting with the city council so we can set some time aside to work through these issues. There's issues as it relates to guest parking with times that it should be. There's issues Councilman Herring brought up back in the 16th of January as it relates to whether this is going to be a 24/7 type of deal. There's an issue about Glenarden Parkway, whether Glenarden Parkway should be on the pilot program or not. So, we're working diligently to try to get it done, but there are some things that need to be ironed out.
I recall the last time we spoke, Councilwoman Fareed asked that you guys look into other municipalities who do the exact same thing. Have you guys done that?
I have. The closest one is the city of College Park. They have a full-fledged RPP program. But most of these programs, I've reached out to the District of Columbia, to PG County. Most of these programs are a little bit different than what we're trying to do. We're trying to take some of the vehicles off the street so it can ease the flow of traffic. But most of them, what they're just trying to do is get vehicles registered so they know what vehicles are on the street. Most of them they utilize a digital program to where all the passes are digital. So you can scan a QR code that's on a sign. You can sign up, and you can get your residential parking permits digitally. You can get your visitors passes the same way. So we will have to, figure out a way how to, if we want to go digitally, what we wanted the program to look like.
What recommendations? Because here's what I don't want to happen. Like, what we do know is that there is a problem with parking.
Sure.
Not a secret. We've been talking about it for a while, but it seems like we're just kicking the ball back and forth and not really getting it in the goal. And so I know that you guys want to sit with the council, but I will say now that if you guys sit with us, you guys have to have some recommendations ironed out so that we can just say yes or no. If you guys are the experts, city manager, code enforcement manager. You are who we trust to get this thing done. We legislate and we give the ball to you and your expertise for you to actually roll it out. And so it'll be a great waste of time if you guys do not have something, a full-fledged program pitch to the city council so that meeting can be productive and not just another meeting where, we don't know what we're doing. No. We got to be a little bit more efficient, and this is no knock on you. I really want to get Paul in the goal. It takes so long to do simple things. You got to get there. So I will send a poll out, but when we have the date ready, you guys got to be ready. So that's the expectation.
Understood.
Fair? Okay.
Mr. President,
Councilman Harry?
in all fairness to Mr. Green, some of the things, the actions that he's asking really requires council actions because we'll have to amend the legislation that's in place because, again, the legislation currently gives people 1-year-long guest passes, which are entirely too long because you're going to have, telling me you have 5 cars on the street. Mm-hmm. So that's one question. That's what the legislation requires. We may have to amend that. So I think we do need to meet as a council to iron some of these things out to make sure, because again, they can't make decisions based on what they think if it's going to take legislative action to do it. They got. There's no need, reinventing the wheel on this. But again, I agree with you. We need to move forward. We need to get it in place because, again, now that commercial vehicles are allowed in the city of Glenarden, there's less parking because people are parking them in the street, in the driveways and putting cars on the street now. So basically what you wanted to do, and they also parking vans on the street. So the effect of what you wanted to do is exactly what it did. It got one person allowed to park in there, but you also opened it up to a whole bunch of other people. But again, I've seen some of the, I've seen his emails, and I'm just like, okay, we need to move on this. I'm gonna tell you, I think this might be like the 3rd email I think he sent out requesting us to address this PPP program, or PPR program, or whatever the heck it's called, RPP. Yeah, so I'm just saying, we do need to move forward on it, and I understand, have something ready so that we can discuss it and have it addressed. And if we got to do legislation, we need to get it sooner than later because, again, we need to make sure we get it on the agenda and it follows through the process. All right, thank you.
I don't disagree. Bring options. This is what works for this city. This is how I see it working for our city. Scenario number 1. Scenario number 2, scenario number 1 might be the year-long guest pass. Another scenario is a way another city does it where I think in DC, I'm born and raised there, you could park 2 hours, and you could get a guest pass. It's for 24 hours or you might be up to 72 hours. I don't know. But the goal, and like I said, this is no knock against you, Mr. Green. Sure. I just want to get this done. So it will be wise to bring multiple scenarios so that the council can hear it can have, can voice their opinion, and then we can move forward.
Okay, not a problem. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. Two more. Acting captain, did I get that right? Or, okay, acting captain, jeez, I'm so used to saying Captain Jackson. Acting Captain Robinson. Sorry about that.
All right. Good evening, everyone. How you doing?
Good.
I'm Acting Captain Robinson. I believe everyone has a copy of the Chief's report. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask me, and I'll do my best to answer them.
All right. Are there any questions of the police department report?
Yes, Mr. President.
Councilman Harris.
And Acting Chief Robinson, this is just the same question I had for code enforcement officer. Is the police ready to enforce the parking permit program? I mean, the parking permit ordinance that we just passed. According to the charter, the police should be ticketing all violations that are on public streets. And that's what I think is going to be a major problem, because we have a lot of vans that are on the street and the legislation doesn't allow it. So I just want to know, is the police department ready to jump in and do what they got to do so that they can enforce that ordinance?
That's a simple answer, yes.
Okay. Okay. All right.
All right. Councilwoman Jones.
Yes. Good evening, Acting Captain Robinson.
Yes.
So where are we with the parking? Not the parking, but the speed cameras.
Okay, so if you guys, if you drive on MLK, you'll actually see that the electricity has been installed by the 7-Eleven and just right after the sign entering to the city. So BG&E, everything has been connected. We're just waiting for it to get inspected so they can then install the cameras. So I anticipate March.
Okay. So the one on Glenarden, the one that was on Glenarden Parkway,
They're working on the ones, Glenarden Park, no, not Glenarden Parkway. Glenarden Parkway and Bright Sea Road.
There was a camera there.
Bright Sea Road, right. They're working on that. Due to the weather,
right.
that slowed that portion down. But now the weather's getting better, so hopefully that'll get done. But they were able to install electricity on MLK, so
Okay.
that should be up and running in March.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Mr. President, I do have one more question for you.
Yes, sir. Councilman Harris.
Did you send out an email recently?
No.
Okay, that's
that is a virus. We sent out another email telling you guys not to open that email.
Oh, so y'all wanted me to open it because I didn't get it.
That's a good thing.
No, I was wondering. I got it and I just deleted it.
Yeah, it was a virus. It originated, well, I don't know where it came from, but it said it came from the Housing Authority for the most part. A lot of people got it.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
I'm sorry. So the one that came, it said it came from you? The one that said it came from Darren Robinson, that was not?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, that came from, and I got another one today from another agency, so I didn't open it. I didn't open this one.
I got 3 of them. I told them, I said, I can't open it.
Good, don't open it.
Yeah.
Just announcing bid to invite the city of Glenarden in supporting police building. That's what it reads.
Yeah, don't open it.
Yeah.
All right. Are there any other questions, the council? All right, then we'll move on.
Yes, sir.
Treasurer Stewart.
Thank you, President Curtis. First of all, I'd like to thank Council Member Jones and Council Member Herring for your questions in the previous meeting and the questions that you sent to me. I hope those answers that I've given you sufficed, but if not, you could still contact me and we'll go through them. For the month of December, which this report is for, to the end of December, we had a surplus of $1,725,646. The real property tax collection has been going down. However, in January, we saw a receipt of $949,000, which will bring us back up to where the city is in a position to take care of its debts. Currently, the city's cash balance, looking at all accounts, all current accounts, is $2,881,000. The investment account, as we have it now, okay, I may have to go over those numbers, but it's at $8 million. I wanted to talk about the American Rescue Plan and the funds that we have been using so far. Since this report, and in January here, we have totally expended all funds as it relates to the American Rescue Plan. The salaries that we have applied to the American Rescue Plan has actually helped us to totally use up those funds. Given that it was applied to salaries, it has given us back reserves, funds that we could use for other projects. The amount approximately come up to $2.4 million. We have actually holding on now to do projects like the elevator project that we have for years to get completed. The council chambers and nutrition center, we are actually pushing to get those done. And I'm hoping this can be done maybe not before the end of the year, but we will still have funds to manage those projects. As it relates to our audit is being done right now. As a matter of fact, the auditors will be coming in tomorrow to work with me as it relates to the single audit, because for 2024, a part of the salary, which would be approximately $1,164,000, is over the $750,000. So we have to do a single audit. So the auditors will be in with me tomorrow. We will work to get both the standard audit and the single audit completed before the end of this month. I've actually received the constant yield rate last week, Friday. I've emailed it and shared it with the council, and this now put me in a position where I will be sending out the budget templates to all budget owners so that they could start put their plans together for 2026. And that's it for now. Any questions?
Pardon me, sorry. Are there any questions for Treasurer Stewart? Councilmember Harry.
Yes. I got the bank balance report. Thank you for that.
Yes.
And I'm looking at this bank balance report, and what is it? Okay, I'm looking at this bank balance report, and basically when I look at this report, it has like for account 1090, a total of $1.6 million in that report. Do you have that report with you? Or, Mr. President, if I can share my screen?
Yes.
Oh, you still have to go.
Or do I still? I think I do. Oh, here we go. Let's see. Oh, okay.
You just gotta make it. Yeah. Oh, wow. It's delayed, so I gotta.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah. So, $1.6 million. Of this $1.6 million, let me see. I think what highway user, the police grant, those are restricted. Correct.
Yes, yes.
To the police department. So, in ARPA, of course, we have none, as well as opto traffic, restricted to the police department for public safety. One question: why is there any money in opto traffic? We bought cars after cars after cars after cars, and they still got $87,000 in opto traffic.
So for that account, I've been monitoring it, and at the end of the year, we'll do an adjustment to move whatever funds. But the opto traffic receipts, we have been using that to pay for operating expense, not necessarily capital expenditures like for the vehicles. So we have been applying those to, like for example, the ammunitions, uniforms, those equipment, other equipment, operating equipment. So that's where we have been targeting most of the funds that came in for Opto. So that's where it is. As you talk about the American Rescue Plan, we have actually moved those funds into the investment account. So what has been happening there is that we have been earning on funds that are, hanging, not actually being used. So that's why I moved those funds there. We're using current account, current monies to pay for as much expenses as we can while we continue to earn from our investment account.
So how, just on your estimate, how much of the $7.5 million is in the investment account is actually America Rescue, or let's say not America Rescue workers now, how much is actually really kind of like designated for some of the major projects that we got coming up? Remodel here, the remodel over there, elevator.
What I can tell you is that majority of that $7,500,000 is being held for any of these projects. What you could see here is funds that related to the highway user. We have that separate. That's the $388,000. So most of the projects that we have restrictions on them, we have actually tried to move them out of the current account. And as you say about the highway user fund that's there, these are monies that are coming in currently, and they're still in the operating account. That's why it's there. My understanding is that, especially for highway user fund, we'll be doing street works, like what you were asking about, in the next month or so. Because it's funny, because I actually had a discussion with our city manager about it like last week to say, hey, what are we doing with regard to getting the streets, because we are just 4 months away from the end of the year. So we need to act on this, and if not, then I'll have to move these funds into the investment to have them restricted to some sense, but we still could earn income from it.
So let's just say we do all the projects that we're going to do. How much money do you think will be left in an investment account? We knocked out all the projects that we're going to do, elevator, remodel in this room, whatever else, the street repairs, sidewalk repairs.
I couldn't say right now, but I could say we're looking at, along with current funds, current accounting funds, we should be left with maybe $5 million.
Okay, but you got to break out $1 million of that we set aside for the police department, for the police station.
Yes, and I'm going to be moving that.
Okay, that'll come out. So that'll leave you with about $4 million.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Because I was trying to figure out, again, and that's basically almost like 1 year's reserve if anything happens.
Yeah.
That'll keep the city going for 1 year.
Yeah, but please understand that there are other areas where we're getting back funds. And the question that Ms. Jones, Councilwoman Jones really asked was about that, the police impact fund, those amounted development fund. I mean, you spoke about it as well, because you brought that to our attention, that over the years, the county has not been passing those funds over to us. We're actually working on that, and I'm looking at approximately $800 and something thousand to be received. So we're going to be really working hard on that. Ms. Councilwoman Jones actually gave me a contact to see how we could start working on that. So I'm looking at other areas where funds will be coming in to balance off those expenses that we will be incurring over the next couple of months.
But the $800,000 that's coming in, that goes toward the police department. That's slated for police department. That public safety, I mean, we're factoring that into the police department building. One thing you just said is that you're going to start working on trying to get that money. That has already started. I think, Mr. Simpson, you need to check the previous city manager's emails. She had a contact in there.
Yes.
Get in touch with them, because I think we were almost at the end of the road when she left.
Right, but what happened is I can remember having a discussion with her, and she was actually like pulling her hair to say it is so hard to get this thing completed, and it feels as if we may have to go further in getting these funds. But I think let me try with the contact that we have now to see how far I could get in getting these funds into the city.
Let me tell you, you're not going to get far, because you got an acting county executive in there, and you're going to have a new county executive coming on board, and you got a projected $171 million deficit. They owe it to us, but they're going to do everything they can not to try to give it to you, because they're going to want to try to close their budget deficit. So if you know somebody, or I think Mr. Simpson, if you get on the check her email, see if they had a contact, because I know we were talking to somebody, whoever y'all need to get to, y'all need to get to them like right now. It's going to be kind of hard now, because nobody's going to want to make a move with this deficit sitting out there. Even though they owe it to us, it's going to be really hard to try to get them to pull that out of their general operating, because that right there will take the deficit up to what, quite a bit more, almost 172 almost. And so I think y'all need to just find out whoever the contact was that y'all had, and move forward on it, because again, we need that money for the police department. That's what it's slated for. One other thing, so I went through I did go through the finance reports, and I did have some, I did want to do a couple of follow-up questions I have for you. And let's see, hold on. Yeah, because I know one thing, because I'm trying to figure out who actually used some of this money that we had out there, because I'm trying to figure out what HOAs. You said the cottages of Glenarden, which one?
Okay, so with regard to that question, you were asking about which one of the HOAs actually came through and requested those grants. And what I have here is Glenarden Homeowners Association and the Cottage of Glenarden. Those are the two that I got from our grants manager, and they have been complete. They got all the funds, both of them.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out who the Colleges of Glenarden are because I've never heard of them before.
Yeah.
So you may want to find out if he's talking about us or talking about somebody else, because ours is Hamlin, you got Frost, Forest, Glenarden Towns, Woodmore Town Center, and of course, you know the HOA. I mean, Glenarden Housing Authority.
Okay,
so I don't know who the colleges of
I think it's a Woodmore. I think it's a Woodmore, but let me look further into that.
You think that's Woodmore?
I think it is.
Yeah, because I thought they were the only ones that actually initiated use of the funds.
I think it's Woodmore.
While trying to get everybody else to use it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Another thing. Okay, and I did ask you about fingerprinting and live scan, and fingerprinting is down a lot. Now, I guess my question is, because I looked at the reports that I got, I don't know. I got to keep on bringing this up. Do you get the log sheets that?
Yes, I do get the log sheets.
And you do see that they're still giving out free fingerprinting, correct?
When I spoke to the chief about it, he actually said, please defer that question to him. His explanation was about having courtesy. It's like courtesy between agencies. So I really would want to defer that question to Chief Bryant.
Well, I'm not going to defer to Chief Bryant. I know I brought this up before. Chief Bryant, nor any of you have the right to not charge when this council say you have to charge. The council set the rate. That's what has to be charged. It's $31.25 for seizures. If seizures don't want their money, fine. But that $20 that we pay as an administrative fee for doing the fingerprinting needs to be charged. And see, I'm really getting frustrated with this because the charter says you as the treasurer are responsible for collecting all monies due to the city. Mr. City Manager, you need to make sure also that the monies are due to the city. This is a city council. It isn't the chief cannot dictate to us when a discount is going to be given to anybody. That's something that we do. Even with the Gold Room, we put in writing who gets a discount. So that $20 need to be charged. I'm tired of looking at these reports and seeing that we're giving away taxpayers' dollars because, just because. Again, they don't have that responsibility. They don't have that authority. And you as a treasurer are to collect it, and you as the city manager are supposed to make sure it's enforced, and the chief as the head of the department should make sure it's also being enforced again also, and that it's not being done. Because I'm really getting tired of seeing that every time that it's just, I guess it's basically, I don't care what you say, we're gonna do what we wanna do. And I think that's straight up insubordination. Because you cannot show me one piece of paper that says that discounts are allowed in that department. And if it continues, then action needs to be taken across the board, from the top on down. Because again, everybody's ignoring this, and I'm not sure why. Well, I know why. Again, and I think it's unfair why it's not being done. And I'm really getting tired of it because again, no person is above the law. No person is above what the rules are set for. What the rules are set out to run this government. And if we say you got to collect money for a certain thing, you got to collect money for a certain thing until this council says you can give a discount. Right now, we didn't say you can give a discount. The $20 need to be charged. They bought a $17,000 live scan machine and giving away free fingerprinting. They're not even going to recover the money for what we pay for that. Much less the salary of the person that's doing it. I think it's sad when people don't have the best interests of the city at heart, and it really frustrates me that I'm bringing this up again for like the third or fourth time, and it's still continuing. I'm telling you, okay, you know what? That's why I said okay. I'm just saying okay. If it isn't rectified, I'm going to bring it up again, and I'm going to be even more vocal than this. So something needs to be done, and I'm going to leave it at that. Also, when I was looking through the finance reports, because I usually get the finance reports, when we get to December 1, I like to look through it, see where we are mid-year, overages, where we are under in revenue collection or over in expenses. And, and like I said, you answered a lot of the questions I had. I guess one thing I do want to ask about is the gasoline, because you sent me those reports too, and I looked at the reports. Yes. I'm trying to figure out what's going on there, because we're signing a lot of big checks. I mean, people are spending a lot of money on gasoline. We're signing some big checks for gasoline, and I'm trying to figure out what. And my thing is this, and since the report is very detailed, it shows the cars, and I'm not sure how one person can get $600 in gas the same month as another person who's getting $300 in gas. That's a big swing. Every car, if you're patrolling the city of Glenarden and you only patrol in the city of Glenarden, all gas should be about the same. Give or take, the mileage you burn going and coming from home. It should all be the same, but these swings are ridiculous, and they need to be looked into.
If you don't mind me speak on that, I have been speaking with the chief about it. I have a set limit where once I see a vehicle go over, let's say $280, $300, then I have a question. I am not comfortable with that. I need to know why, what's happening. The gas boy has become a little bit more efficient with sending the bills on time, so I could spend time to really discuss these with the chief and the acting captain, and they are actually working on it. I don't feel comfortable with anything over 283 or 300, so they're working on it, and let's see what's going to happen in the next month.
But Mr. President, may I?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but also not just police, but also public works, because I've been looking at those numbers too, and those numbers can be high too. So, and I know they driving around the city just like the police.
Yes. So, I believe you may have been looking at the one for January. Mm-hmm. January was a little high, but that was because, as I spoke with the city manager, it has to do with the snow removal that was going on as well with them. So they kind of ticked up with their usage to some degree. But as you say, yes, I have been monitoring those bills, and I'll follow up with them to ensure that everyone stays within a comfortable or reasonable rate of usage.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
And I think that's it for me. Yeah, I think that's it for me.
All right. Only one thing.
Oh, no, I do have one other thing. I do. Mm-hmm. The second audit, you say there's 2 audits this year.
Yes.
Did we budget for the second one? Or do you have to adjust it?
They haven't given me their estimate for the audit, but I had entered approximately a certain amount into the budget last year in case something like that should have come up. So I am looking at where we are now, and I think we should have enough to cover. But if not, then we'll do a budget amendment to address that.
Well, why don't you call them up and ask them, give me a price?
I have asked.
And they haven't given it to you?
They didn't. They say I have to give them some time.
They do them all the time. They should know how much it costs.
Mr. Herrick, it has been 2 weeks since I asked.
I mean, we shouldn't have to come back and do another budget amendment for $10,000 if we're going to do a budget amendment. We can put it in the one we got.
Yeah.
Well, you got 30 days.
Yes.
This was the first reading, so you got 30 days to try.
Right, but in any case, I had put another 10,000 there when I did the budget originally. So let's hope that we stay within those amounts.
And this is one more question, and for you and Mr. Simpson or Ms. Schultz. I asked about y'all looking into Fidelity and Vanguard. Did y'all do that?
Yes, so we are still in the process of speaking with them. We got through with one. I think it was Vanguard we got through to. So the other one, we'll talk to them, but we still need to get a little more information from both. So give me another week or so to get back to you on those concerns. Because you actually gave us some concerns to look into too.
One, and this will be the last one. Constant yield. Now,
Yes.
we as a council, because he's getting ready to send out budget templates, and they need to know what we're going to do before they do that budget. So are we going to accept the constant yield, or are we going to take advantage of the higher assessments, which means you get a slight tax increase of, I think it's 1 cent, something like that. I think it goes up from 30, it'll be 32 cents. It'll be 33 cents.
Yeah. We have until April 15. Not that I'm going to wait until then. We're going to be doing our budgets now. Let's hope by the end of March we have some numbers. I know this year we're going to have to send out letters or publish and have public meetings because the amount that is there. And speaking about constant yield is actually us trying to earn the same amount as we have earned last year. And I think we have to go up a bit on our taxes. And, it's going to be based on what our budget says and how best we could trim those numbers.
And that's what I'm saying, because again, you're going to have to advertise because there will be a tax increase of, I think, a penny. I think if you roll it back, it's 0.328, I think, and I think if you leave it the same, it's 0.338. Yeah. So that's an increase of about a penny. So we as a council need to make a decision sooner than later on what we're going to do, advertise it, and vote on it, instead of waiting until the last minute like we did last time. Then you had to pull the money out of the budget because we fell under the constant yield rate.
Yes, but we're doing fine so far.
Yeah, you're doing fine. I'm talking about the council. We got to do our part.
Yes.
It went down to 33. It went down to 33.33 because we had to accept the constant yield rate last year, which was 0.33.
Yes.
And then if we don't do it again, it's going to go down again to 0.32 this year if we don't accept if we accept the constant yield rate. So, all right, thank you. That's it for me.
Yes.
Just quickly, please, I agree with Councilman Herring that no one has the authority to withhold, to make a decision to give somebody a discount. So, city manager, you can just make sure that
we will act on
there
it.
was an investment of that $17,000, and so we just want to make sure that just everybody operates by policy. Policy is in place for a reason. All right?
Yes.
All right.
Can I say one more thing? So I've sent the budget amendment to the council. What will be the next step? And it's the budget amendment for 2025.
Yeah, so we had the first reading tonight,
Yes.
which is required due to it being an ordinance and it not being an emergency ordinance. Emergency ordinance, we could have voted on it tonight, but I don't see a valid reason for it to be an emergency ordinance. So therefore, the first reading was tonight. Then next month, we'll vote on it at our regular session. What Councilman Herring was saying was that we can add the $10,000 to there if you don't hear back from
the auditors, SB, yeah.
Correct. So we don't have to come back and do another budget amendment. We just anticipate it and put it there.
So I will review and add those and resend the amended budget
That is quite
before
fine.
the weekend.
And we'll just have to note that amendment at the next meeting that it is being amended to include another
Yes.
$10,000. Okay. All right. Moving on to the next item on our agenda, next and final item of our agenda. I can pull up my computer.
Mr. President, one thing. I do have a question for the city manager. I need to ask about the gold room. Right quick. I think it'll be quick. Just the gold room. I'm just trying to figure out the event that's going to come up, the flower event. I asked you a question about that. Did you get an answer to that?
Not yet, but I will make sure you have that.
All right, thank you.
That was quick. All right, next and final item on agenda is citizens' comments. So citizens, it's your opportunity to speak on, thank you, sir, I see your hand already, on really anything you want to. You'll just come to the podium, state your name, and you'll have 5 minutes to speak, ask questions. I will let you know that if you have a question or questions, please ask all of them because your 5 minutes is a running clock. Do not stop the clock. So ask them all. We will write them down and then we'll respond. But once your 5 minutes is up, then we'll be moving on. If we're still answering, then of course we'll continue to answer them. And if you're online, please raise your virtual hand. I'll just be mindful of the rules as it relates to speaking. There are no, direct attacks on anyone or anything like that, or attacking someone with your words. You'll be given a verbal warning. If you don't adhere to a verbal warning, then you'll be removed. That's just guidelines, just to make sure that everyone is cordial. You can disagree without being out of order. So with that, I saw one hand, I see two hands, so I will go with him first. I see three hands, I'll go in that order, and then we'll move from there. Are you ready with me? Okay.
Good evening, City Council, Madam Mayor. Just have a couple of questions, and this question will be for the mayor. You talked a little bit earlier on your mayor report when you were asked a question from Councilman Herring, but can you please go through and give us some highlights on the mayoral report, some of the key points and highlights of the report in the entirety?
So, pardon the interruption. If you have questions, you can go, but we're not going to go back and rehash people giving reports. So
No, it's a question because we can't talk during her report. And Herring asked one question, which was a good question about her report, and I'm asking another question to be able to go in and talk about other sections of her report that she did not answer earlier.
So I understand, but I also understand that the song and dance that you and your wife do with trying to go back and forth. And I respect if you have a question, a specific question related to the mayor's report so that she can answer. But going back to then give reports, we're not going to do that.
My specific question is, I want the mayor to go through her report.
That's not a question.
With all of the key points of her report. That's my question. Can you go through your report?
The question is, what are the key points of your report, Mayor Cross?
And
that's
also,
the question.
There was a State of Glenarden address presented to the council. I would like, myself and other citizens have brought this up about knowing what was discussed on the State of Glenarden address.
So I'm going to interrupt again. We're not giving the Glenarden address.
Just the key. No, not the whole address.
Listen to what I'm saying. Because you do this every month between you and your wife, the mayor, to try to go back and forth. Listen, your question is, what are the key points of her mayoral report? That is fine.
And the key points of the address.
We're not going through an address or a report.
I think a couple of other citizens would like to hear.
Now, are we going to waste your time?
The address. We can. I got 3 minutes and 20 seconds.
Okay.
But it looks like a couple of other members in the room want to hear, who are citizens, that's paying citizens, want to hear these things from our mayor.
Mayor Cross, the question is, what are the key points of your mayoral report?
Is the citizen finished? He's got 3 more minutes.
And my second part question would be the address of the state of Glenarden. I don't know the state of Glenarden, what you briefed to others in a private session or something. So myself and some others in the room, they're not in the room, others online that I have talked to, have stated to me that they would like to know what that was. She cannot put it on her Zoom because she doesn't have access to the City of Glenarden Zoom. That has been revoked from her. So she's not able to do it unless she goes out on her own dime and puts up her own Zoom and somehow get it to the citizens. Then it's not being put onto the city's website or the city's Instagram or the city's Facebook or the city's Twitter account or anything that the city has. Anything that she's presenting to you as a council is not getting out to us in the media. And I saw inside of your media reports, it is a metrics that you are taking from the media. So all of your social medias has metrics that is being targeted, and it's being seen what flyers are being looked at, what documents are being looked at, how many people view what video on the pages. All of that is not reflecting what we're hearing from our mayor. So we would like to hear more from our mayor and not have me have to come up here and ask specifically to talk to our mayor so that she can talk to the citizens, because you refused to let her give her mayoral report or any other reports to the citizens.
Well, let me just address some of your concerns that you very well know. One, I find it hard to believe that you don't see it because you live with the mayor. Second, you know very well why things were taken away, because there were a lot of untruths coming from the mayor report.
Public speaking, she has the right to say what she wants to say.
So I didn't cut you off.
I can cut you off because I'm still within my 5 minutes.
So that's your first warning.
That's not a warning. I'm in my 5 minutes, so technically you're cutting me off.
Sir, that's your first warning. 48 seconds. That's fine, and she will still answer your question. So, let me respond to you. You know very well, because you just stated several things, making it look like that the council is somehow trying to censor the mayor. Actually, we did censor the mayor, but not letting her speak. But you know why? Because she was blatantly lying in her reports. She was doing things that was putting the city at jeopardy with other companies who were threatening to sue us, and we would have lost, because she was putting things that were not true in a report. She was saying things that were not true from the dais, and she kept on repeating it. So you cannot, the president may go around saying untruths with no repercussions, but here in the city of Glenarden, then we have to protect our citizens from lawsuits.
Those untruths were proven.
So things were put in place. You know that. We can go back and forth every month to remind people of the chaos that has been caused by the untruths that were said about the city of Glenarden. Now, with that, I will be gracious enough to allow the mayor to answer your question about the highlights in her report. Mayor Cross, and just to point out that the mayor's report is sent out to everybody. Everybody has the report. So we don't censor that. That's online. Anybody can access it. The mayor also can, if she's doing something for the city of Glenarden that she wants known in the report, as Councilman Herring said, she could put it in there. But most of the stuff is doing other things and accolades to herself. So, but that's all right. So now we can move on to answering your question.
Thank you, citizen, for that question. I guess so much for personal attacks, huh, citizens? One of the key things that I will acknowledge that in this report, it does highlight some significant changes that the 447th is doing in Annapolis that needs to be brought to our citizens' attention. That's the highlight of this report, as the kickoff of the session, of course, was January the 8th and will run through April the 7th. The key thing about being a mayor, and this is what I think has been not acknowledged here at this table, is that as the executive leader of this city, one of the key things that I am required to do as an appointee of the state as well, an elect of the citizens, is to not only enforce the laws, which are the ordinances, but also manage the budget, which we spoke about, and represent the city's interests. So this report is me representing the citizens' interests. And let me be perfectly clear. The mayor fields almost 9 calls every every single week since I've been appointed. And one of the key things I will also acknowledge, amongst keeping 3 citizens from going homeless in this city because I couldn't get regular local support, I ended up getting county support. One of the key things that I want to acknowledge that in the legislative priorities, we need to be very careful with how we say we don't have a place in Annapolis. The mayor has a big place in Annapolis, and not only that, but several legislators have been asking for my personal attention because I'm so thorough in how we research and how we are aware of what the citizens' needs. For example, health equity is a very key piece in reporting also to the county council during their recent budget hearing. One of the key things that I brought out is the need to reform our health processes. We looked at housing because there has been legislation coming down from the federal level which threatens all of our at-risk communities that are under the housing and urban development. So there's been a lot of work working for the banning of box houses and all these things. And not only that, but the 2-year process that unfortunately many of our citizens in Glenarden are going to have to experience. Those with income-based housing may be given a 2-year notice and they're going to be kicked out of their houses. We do not have a plan in this county, nor has the state a plan to accommodate what the federal government is going to ask. We have 60 units, particularly across the street from this municipal center, which are at risk. And we have another 250 units that are at Bright Seat Road, which are at risk. So this is a good cause for the mayor to be in Annapolis. And the thing is, while we do have legislators in Annapolis, they can't do it by themselves. Just like we request citizens to be here in this local meeting, we need to be in Annapolis, because if we're not up there supporting them, it looks like what they care about is not important. When we look at Governor Westmore and some of the procurement reformation acts that he's put, one of the key things that we're fighting for right now is the blueprint for Maryland's future. That's a very key role that I've been playing in education. Not only, we mentioned the NAACP, I'm the NAACP chairman for the Youth Works College programs. So this is a strategic piece as we start to look at how we need to reform the education system. And yes, there was a meeting tonight to speak to the superintendent of schools, because we need to start looking at our educational programs, what we actually have as far as hope and equity in our youth. This is something that has been near and dear to my heart. As we know, I run the Youth Summit each year. And this year was no different, where we had 10 youth who were actually, with millionaires in the room, will receive their first $100,000 job when they turn 18. The Second Look Act is something else that I've been after because of the criminal procedures that we've been having to expunge here in the city of Glenarden. When we look at this particular act, within 20 years, judicial proceedings will allow those with lesser crimes to actually appeal to the judge now to actually get out of the criminal justice system. And what that does do is it stops us from having to pay for all these expungement fares, because we will give rights to those that have served good and honorable time to actually appeal to the judge to come out of prison. We're looking at youth equity and safety. That's the YES Act. See, these are very important things that the city of Glenarden need to know is happening, but they're not being fed down to you. I'm the only one tracking this stuff and being up there in Annapolis 67 times in just last year, and I've already been on the docket 5 times in this month. The key is we are trying to end the automatic sentencing for juveniles to be charged with certain crimes. Right now, those at about 15 years will have, in 33 enumerated offenses, they will be automatically charged as an adult. This is something that we need to be very careful about. As we know, the city of Glenarden has not been safe from juveniles getting into trouble. We do not want to see a juvenile that has a lesser offense, and 33 of these enumerated accounts are not major hardened crime accounts. We do not want to see that happen. We are trying to end the high school to prison block that's happening in many of our ethnic communities. So when we look at public safety law, a major win just happened, and that happened on February the 13th. I was in the room and on the press conference where we discussed House Bill 707 and Senate Bill 618. See, these aren't bills sponsored by District 24, but District 24 was in the room. This bill will afford those with hidden disabilities the right and the privilege to identify that they have a hidden disability as a measure of safety. If we remember George Floyd, who was an autistic member of our communities, was killed, and others have been brutally assaulted at the hands of police who have not the training. And with the DDA being cut $200 million at the state level by the governor, one of the key things to be concerned about is the disability community. They don't have an advocate right now. And this bill, I am happy to say, looks very promising to pass, that will allow them to self-identify so that police training is already being set at the sheriff level and at the state police and at the local police level. It will be enforced. The reason that the mayor does the report this way, particularly when the kickoff of the House and the Senate sessions, is so that our city can start looking at ways in which to move. Because if we're not moving ahead, we're going to be behind. As I stated, this ends in April. So safety laws for Eric's ID law will be a statewide law, and the Maryland Department of Vehicles will ensure that those are placed on everyone's licenses that elect to have it. When we look at the NAACP, one of the key things that this NAACP for 2025, the priority for justice and educational innovation, as I stated, there's a meeting tonight. I'm missing it because I'm here in the council meeting, obviously. But next generation leadership, this is what we're talking about. And as we're looking at college programs, and particularly ethnic college, one of the most underfunded career fields is cybersecurity. It will be the #1 career in the federal level, and it has no funding at the county or the state. And one of the key things that we need to acknowledge, particularly in our high schools, that this could be a trade that gets them paid immediately when they walk out the door with certifications in cybersecurity, but also C++ and other language qualifiable certifications that can start getting our children working, which then hits at that $170 million deficit in Prince George's County. So on top of that, we are looking at one fair wage. One of the key things about this, right now, workers who receive tips get $3 an hour. They can't even eat at the places that they work. And if we look at Glenarden, what is our industry? Our industry is restaurants, Costco, Nordstrom's Rack, and at home. Most of the people that will work, our youth, will work in those particular industries. Right now, we're trying to make sure that they can actually support their families. And we're talking about not just youth, our adults are working in these industries. This will give them $15 an hour. This way, they can afford to pay the higher or the more appropriate tax rate, particularly as we just talked about the constant tax rates, that constant yield tax rate, and the potential for raising the taxes in this coming fiscal year budget.
So point of order, Mayor Cross, if you can just continue to wrap it up, please.
Sure. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So these are some of the equities that I've been fighting for as your mayor. And it is very important, and it's not just accolades, but you need to acknowledge also that there are academies that, as elected officials, we have to go through. And I was very honored within the year to be awarded the Torchbearers for Excellence in Leadership status and gaining over 75 hours in the first year. And this certificate, of course, earns me Academy graduate status. And this is very important because as a forever learner, you're not just in a position just because you had an experience and now you have been elected. No, we have to always stay ready, and we have to always stay trained up on what's current and what's new. So there are several opportunities. The council was presented, the Board of Elections, there was a call out in the charter for 10. They were actually provided 10 plus 2, so 12. So 2 alternates to pick from, which we did, ended up swearing in 5. So one of the key things that you asked me about also was the state of Glenarden, and then just the top high level. The very important piece is I have been an active participant, not only in Judge Sylvania Woods, but Glenarden Woods Elementary School. And what is happening in that school system, in both of them, from leaky roofs at Judge Sylvania Woods to Glenarden Woods Elementary School, actually serving most of the students at or below the income base in the city of Glenarden. So whether or not it's become a tag school, that's an age-old. We inherited that as this administration. One of the key things that we do acknowledge is, having been in the presence of all of these students, that every one of these schools is doing the absolute supreme best that they can to service the students that have been afforded their school's particular training. So
Thank you,
I
Mayor
acknowledge
Cross.
that, and right up front, and this is the last point. When we talk about equity and inclusion, that's one of the key things that I brought up in my State of Glenarden address, the need to address our racial disparities that are happening in and around not only the state, but in our local and our county levels. So this legislation that has been passed tonight is in line with the priorities that I've submitted. And not only that, but we do need to, and this is a future recommendation. The Glenarden Community Center is one thing, controlled by Maryland National Capital Park and Planning. We need a youth center for the city of Glenarden. The previous youth center, the Martin Luther King Center, obviously was demolished in 2022, January the 4th. There needs to be something put in place so that our youth will have a place where they can actually get training, they can get tutoring, and different types of things. This ARPA money is done.
Thank you, Mayor Cross.
So we need to appreciate what we have to do for our people. Thank you.
Thank you. So, one, I've said this before. I think the mayor has great ideas. Great ideas. I think I've met with Eric. I support the Eric ID law. I'm happy about the human trafficking. All great things. It's good. And I agree with Councilman Herring. We do have people on the Hill to address that. And I don't fault you for going to Annapolis to handle those things your own, as well. So no argument from me here. I think the issue where I find it hard to reconcile is that cars are running into homes on Glenarden Parkway. It was the executive office tasked to finalize the Woodmore transition from D.R. Horton to get the streets turned over. That has not been done yet. We need speed bumps on Glenarden Parkway. We are behind in our, we are behind with our, our election board, because that wasn't done for so long. We have different committees, whether it be the youth advisory committee or things that are understaffed because the job at home isn't being done. It's all great, and I don't knock anything that was done on the state and county level. Kudos. But we need stuff done here in the city of Glenarden as well. And I think that's where some council members find it hard to reconcile. Be balanced. That's fine. So again, no knock for what is being accomplished on the state and county level. I hope that all that was said gets passed, gets accomplished. Great, because I do agree that it trickles down to Glenarden eventually, but there are things at home that need some care as well. So with that, sir, you have the floor. No, ma'am, you took the last 10 to 15 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor, Madam Mayor, and Councilman, President, Council President. My name is Christopher Jones. This is my wife, Toshla. I'm not here to really bash, or I'm not mad at anything, but I need help. I thought I was told to come in front of the council because we got a situation in my community. We moved here, we bought a house in Glenarden maybe 4 years ago, and I'm glad I did. Honestly, I did. We had some bad things happening, but worked with the officers, Chief Bryan and things, and they took care of it. They actually took care of it and made our block 200% better. But we have an issue, and wanted to ask you all, maybe the code officer, he's still here, Manager Green, is concerning the noise ordinance. I live beside the American Legion, and it's to the point now that it's incredibly a nuisance on a weekday. I'm talking about until 12 o'clock, me and my wife can't even go to sleep. And it's just not on a Saturday or a Friday. It could be tonight, it could be tomorrow. I'm a guy that gets up about 4:30 in the morning to go to work. Mm-hmm. Wife's a school teacher, so she has a lot going on. And I wanted to know where did I start? Who did I talk to? Is there an ordinance for the noise? I have talked to officers, even invited them out in my home so they can actually hear it for themselves. And nothing we can do. So I know that's untrue. I know it is an ordinance. I'm not sure whether it's the Glenarden. I know the county has a 24-hour ordinance, which I was told. Mm-hmm. But I was told to come talk to your councilman, talk to your council, talk to your mayor, so here I am. It's to the point now that I'm not really sure what to do, So that's all I really want. We don't have a lot. Maybe you can give me some ideas on where to go, or it seems like, I know maybe the club is like a staple in this community, I don't know, but it's also a nuisance. And I'm being honest with you on that one. I'm willing to work with them. I've talked to the commander, and seems like go in one ear, come out the other, It's been a point like he would call up there and say, hey, could you turn the bass down? Maybe like 5 minutes later, boom, 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 boom. I mean, waking us out of our sleep. It's over our television in our bedroom, upstairs and downstairs. So it's been going on for a long time, and we just, sometimes you don't fight every battle, but this is one I think we'd have to. So this is where I am with that, and I'd just like to see what y'all think about what I just said. Okay?
Well, one, I'm sorry that you had to deal with that. There is an ordinance. Did you want to talk about it? I'll let Councilwoman Jones speak on it.
There's been several issues with noise throughout the city throughout the years, and the last document that I received from Prince George's County is if you can hear it, it's too loud. Okay. And that's the way they're supposed to be enforcing it. Now, the problem is enforcement. Okay. I don't know whether the county is supposed to enforce that or we as a city adopt that as a enforcement tool. But the county's enforcement, it changed where they was talking about decibels and buying these machines and doing this. But in 2021, when I got from the one of the commanders from the police department, which I think I still have, they said if you can hear it, it's too loud and it should be enforced.
And that's basically what I was told also. And it's not so much of the music, it's the bass. I mean, anytime I can hear something outside over my television, it's too loud. Yeah. And boom, 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 boom. Not to mention, I know I got to go, but not to mention, after the thing, I mean, the reefer smoking and in the backyard, I'm going out to walk my dog and I smell dope. It's a nuisance. It's really a nuisance. And it's actually embarrassing when our parents come visit us and things of that nature. It's really embarrassing. But that's all I need to counsel, and can
Okay.
address it.
And I'll say stick around. I'm interested in the enforcement from both the police department and code enforcement because there should be action taken. I don't think it just should be at the county level. If it's a law that's been broken, then the police can enforce the law. So if you can stick around, we can just square things up before you leave to make sure that we're doing all that we can to make sure that you can be in your home and be at peace. Your home, yeah.
Council President, if I may on that one.
Sure.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. And again, sorry for what you're having to endure, but there is a chapter in our code, which is chapter 112. And you can look at that as the chapter on noise. What has not happened, and it was requested by this mayor of city managers, is to get us a decibel reader. Because there is a certain specified decibel in our charter, and it has to be greater than 20. So in this chapter, relation to this particular regulation, the definition of sound, 20 times the logarithm of the bass, 10 times the ratio of the pressure of the sound measured by reference pressure. So the sound is measured by the pressure based on from the street curb to that facility. And if we have not purchased the meters, which is what Glenarden has to get, and I've even sent the city manager, previous Habida should have transferred it over, 5 different samples of decibel reading, noise systems. There's a tool that they have to use. So if it doesn't meet that decibel, then it's not against the law. Now, one thing I will say, also according to this particular charter, one of the key things that you have to acknowledge is that there are quiet hours. And this is possibly where we have, as a city, a onus to play again, is that from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. And so this sounds like maybe some time in which you may be experiencing some of the trouble, but that's in accordance to section 112.4, prohibited noises, paragraph Bravo, and section 2 actually deals with radios. Yelling and shouting is paragraph 3. But again, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. are the restricted times. So there is a charter chapter for the code, and it's chapter 112. My recommendation is to thoroughly read that, and as the city, we need to exhaust all means to protect you in this particular resolve, because now you brought it to our attention. And again, there are decibel readers that we have to get to properly execute this chapter. Thank you, sir.
Is a decibel reader and a bass meter the same thing? I've heard different that a noise meter and a bass meter were different, 2 different instruments, and we are having trouble with the bass.
Okay.
I can really hear the music. It's the boom, boom. My walls. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So relative to the county, there are specific ones that the county and the sheriff department uses. And Mr. Green, I'll make sure that you get a copy of that email that I sent to the city manager so that you can see what tools we need to buy. So it's really about the tone, right? So it's not whether it's a bass or a tinny or any of that, it's about the tone. And if it passes the meters 20, then it's too loud. The other key piece for you is 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Those are the rest hours in the city of Glenarden.
All right. Council,
And that's beyond the club.
Councilman Hairston?
I'm sorry, I ain't know my hand was still up. The gentleman answered my question already, though. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. President, may I?
Mr. Councilman Harry?
Right quick. Mayor, unfortunately, everything that you said is really not valid any longer. When the county changed the noise ordinance, that's what we have to go by. This actually, our charter needs to be updated because this is actually following the old law in Prince George's County. You no longer need a decibel meter. Basically, the guideline is if you can hear it, it's too loud. And that's it. So all the decibel meters and all of the other stuff is not needed. We got to go by what the county amended the law to state. That's what we cannot pass a law that's weaker than what they have in place. We can pass a law stronger, but not weaker. And this law that's in our code now is weaker than what the county has. It's no longer enforced. We have to follow what the county code says, which is if you can hear it, it's too loud. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilwoman Jones?
And I'd like to ask, when you call the police, what happens?
Well, it's been several times, and I don't really want nobody to get fined or nothing like that. You know, it's okay. Just hey, cut it out. And you know, a couple of officers went over there, and they turned it down. And so they left. You know, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes later, boom, boom, boom. I'm saying this is ridiculous. And you know, you don't really want to call 911. You call a non-emergency, and then when they can get to me, they get to me. And that's what we've been dealing with. We did have one officer that I kind of, I talked to Chief Bryant about it too, and he kind of shook his head about it. But they came out, there was 2 officers, and I was there, man. It was really, really, really loud that day. And I offered them, hey man, y'all can come in the house and look. But we were actually right there and could hear it. He said, it's nothing we can do, that's a club. They can do that.
No,
said,
that's not true.
That sound right, man. So I didn't give him no beef. Just walked it back in the house, and I was like, that ain't cool.
Yeah, because I have a neighbor like that too. That you know, I've called a couple of times, and they've talked to that neighbor, and then it's a week later.
I'll be honest, I don't think this is really a big issue, maybe to them. But I'm not really. I'm gonna have to pursue it because I do want some peace and quiet.
I understand.
You know, in my home, you know, I don't want. This is our first time buying a house, and it's louder than a condo we had in Beltsville, you know. So, like, this is ridiculous. I mean, so I just want a solution. That's all.
Great, and we'll talk about that with Acting Captain Robinson and Mr. Green.
It's enforcement.
All right. So we can actually have a solution and not just talk around. All right. Mr. Powell.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Powell. I live in Ward 1, and I have a question for Mayor Cross. Mayor Cross, are you in favor of warning our young people in Glenarden about wearing expensive clothes in public? Because there's a group of thieves who go around and they rob people of expensive clothes. You gotta, people wear jackets that are over $1,000. People wear shoes that are like $1,600. And there's people who just go around and just rob these people of their clothes. I saw a video last week online where the kid was sitting on the bus and somebody came on the bus and attacked him and took his shoes from him. So are you willing to tell the young people in Glenarden about wearing these kind of expensive clothes in public? Because if it does, that's because it doesn't happen in Glenarden, doesn't mean it won't come to Glenarden. That's all you willing to, tell the young people about wearing $1,000 jackets and $1,600 tennis shoes and all that kind of stuff.
Is that your only question?
Yeah, that's one question.
All right, thank you. You can respond.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Powell. Well, while I like to say the mayor has that kind of command and control, I don't know that that's within my will well, particularly if a parent decides that a child has, $1,000 jacket, then that is a parent call. We can, as well as a community, acknowledge that this is something that's not new, right? I think that many of us were born in environments where that's always been the case. So the thing is, when you talk about with your personal effects and what you wear, how you dress, those aren't things that the city can regulate. And so we would look at it from the perspective of the mayor doesn't have a role in regulating what a parent decides for a child to do. And the child has, I believe, rights too. And if that is what they need for their confidence and for their personal being, then they have the right to that. Now, the warning is, for the request, I think, is to the police to actually do some assessment on how many reports we're getting in Glenarden where folks are being robbed of their expensive items. And then a public service announcement can be put out from the chief of police. So I think that's the most appropriate way to go, considering it's public safety relative.
But I know these things happen in D.C. and Silver Spring and in other places. Sooner or later, they're going to come to Glenarden. It's just a matter of time. So should we be proactive and tell the kids, hey, maybe you shouldn't have a $1,000 jacket on? The Canada Goose jackets cost like $1,000, and there's certain shoes that cost $1,600.
Yes,
the kids are wearing these, maybe you shouldn't, buy those kind of shoes.
I think it's a public service announcement, but we do need to do our homework and due diligence in the city of Glenarden to understand what that looks like for us. If we've had those types of impacts or incidences, then that could be something that, again, a public service announcement from the chief of police could answer that, because it's in the real well of public safety. For your noise ordinance, 311. Also, I just thought about it, because 311 is a very important number when it comes down to additional reportings beyond for the county. So thank you so much, Mr. Powell, for that
plus
question.
Kids who live in Glenarden, they leave Glenarden, they go downtown or go to other places where they might get attacked. Wearing Canada Goose jackets that cost $1,000. Good.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Are there any other public comments? Ms. Wilson?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Celestine Wilson, and I am a resident of Glenarden. There's been much talk tonight about things that have not been done in the city that have been requested to be done, but we get the same answer every meeting. I'm going to get to that, or we need to do that, or by the end of this week, we'll have it done. The citizens, me as a citizen, I'll speak for myself, I'd like to see it being done. I'd like to see it finished. For instance, the city manager said that 3 GPS devices need to be done. GPS devices have been mentioned for several months, a whole lot of months. It should have been completed by now, okay? There are things that have been asked to be done in Ward 1, the sidewalks for the children, the potholes, the streets being fixed, whatever, but they're not getting done. And I'm just not quite satisfied with those answers that have been given, because citizens want results. We don't want to keep hearing, oh, it's going to get done, or I'll get back to you, oh, okay. We want to see results. We're taxpayers. You all take our money, and then On the other hand, we get legislation and comments from the council, some council members saying, oh, our employees are really good. They really work hard for us. Where is that happening? You want increase in monies. You want increases in salaries. Why? If you're not getting things done. I'm just saying, where are the results? When it's time for me to pay my taxes are being paid. If I don't pay them, then I'm going to be penalized for not paying my taxes. But I don't see where there are any penalties being levied on those people who are not doing their jobs. And I want to see results. Okay, let's go to, the council needs an increase in stipend. We have this to do, and we're so busy. Where are you so busy? I don't understand. I just don't understand. You all are always asking for more money, but the citizens are not getting more results. And that's what I have a problem with. I really do. I heard that there are issues, and that's all I'm hearing is that there are issues. Okay, and then when code enforcement asks to have a meeting with the council to help us resolve the issues, then you say, okay, we're not going to meet with you unless you bring this, that, or the other to us. How are they going to bring it to you if you won't have a meeting? You don't want to have a meeting with them. I have a problem with these things. I really do. Because as a citizen, I think we deserve better. I really think that we deserve better. The gentleman talked about the noise. Why didn't the police say to go and stop them? Why didn't they say, okay, why didn't they take more measures for that issue to be done with? He shouldn't have to come up here to say, okay, I have an issue with the noise banging, I'm hearing this bass. The police should have done their jobs and said, okay, Legions, y'all can't do it anymore. You're gonna have to turn it down, keep it down. I'm not understanding why citizens are not getting results. I don't understand that. I really don't. And I'm gonna say one other thing. No, I'm sorry, it's gonna be more than one other thing. Are there any, since I looked and saw online, we accept payments online. Are there any guidelines that the council has put in place to keep track of those monies?
So just one point. I'll allow you to finish this one thing, but you have to finish this one thing. All right, so I know you say he has several things, and I can stay after to talk to you about those things.
No, because he said something about taxes.
I'm saying I'm gonna allow you to finish this one last question. So go ahead, ask the question.
Why did you do that? Because I would have been finished by now.
Yeah, ma'am, I would.
I don't understand that. You interrupt other people. You don't let us talk. I would have been done.
Miss Wilson, you said that you had several other things. I did not want to give you a false expectation that you had the floor to do several other things.
I heard the buzzer. I know what the buzzer means.
No,
I know what the buzzer means, Mr. Curtis.
Wilson, I don't want to be difficult with you.
Then stop being difficult. Please stop it.
I was just trying to be courteous.
You weren't. You were not being courteous.
Okay.
I'm sorry. You were not being courteous.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson.
But you did say that our taxes are going to increase, and citizens need to know that.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Are there any other citizens' comments? Online. Online we have Ms. Leader Hunter.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening, everyone. I wish I could have attended in person, but I wanted to first start off by saying, giving a big thank you to the Glenarden Police Department I have had calls on them recently for a couple of issues, and they have shown up and they have resolved the issue to the best of their ability, and I just truly appreciate them. I wanted to again address the issue on Glenarden Parkway in Ward 1. And I speak for Ward 1 because this is where I reside. This is where I'm looking out for the citizens, for the children that are walking and the elderly that are walking or whoever. And that intersection of Johnson Avenue, Glenarden Parkway, or let's just take Glenarden Parkway all the way up to Glenarden Woods Elementary School down to Dalewood. Those stop signs are being ran through constantly still. I've been in other neighborhoods where I see something, even where I work in our parking lot, I see something as small as lights, the stop signs that have the flickering lights on it. That gets your attention. Every morning I watch, I can see clear down to that intersection, and I watch people blow through that stop sign. This is a huge concern. I don't care if you reside in Ward 1, Ward 2, Ward 3. Look, we got to care about our citizens over here, period, in Glenarden, and the safety of them. That's what's important. To me, putting those lights on the stop signs throughout this city, not just there, to me, I don't know how much that will cost. I wish someone would look into it. I don't know if that's the police department, code enforcement, or whomever. But again, I've been addressing this, and I was told, okay, where I saw it was an issue. They cut back some trees. They did this and that. Glenarden Parkway, coming out of Glenarden, across, coming out of Ward 1, there are signs right there that obstruct your view from that tobacco store that's right there. When you're trying to make that right turn onto Glenarden Parkway, onto Martin Luther King, you cannot see because there are signs that are there that obstruct your view. There's still a huge issue with people blowing through the stop signs, going too fast. I don't know who I can address this to, who is going to see the importance and understand the importance of our citizens that are on foot and or those who are driving that stop at the stop sign and then think it's clear, it's safe for them to go, and then here comes somebody bawling down the street that blows straight through the stop signs. And again, I will say this, I have also seen commercial vehicles do it. I've seen Prince George's County public buses ball through that intersection as well. This needs to be addressed. And I also agree with Mrs. Smallwood with there are things that keep coming up, but they're not being addressed. We talk about it, but nothing is happening. The youth center over here, Ward 1, that's a slap in the face because we're still talking about that. It's nothing being done about it. Our youth need more in this city. They need more on this side in Ward 1. And we got to stop talking. We got to get to the point where we start working. We start breaking ground. We are failing our youth in this city. And I'm talking about within the walls of Glenarden. We are failing our youth because we don't have enough for our youth in Glenarden. We don't have a building for them to go to after school. We don't have that, and we need that. But I want to thank everyone that's in position, because I'm not in position. I can only imagine the time that you put forth, the energy, everything you're trying to get done, the things that you have gotten done. Truly, this is not a bashing session. I thank you. Glenarden is great, but I've said it before, better is available. And with all of us working together and you all hearing the citizens' heart, I just, some things like safety that are small that we can address, let's just get it done. Let's get it done. And again, at Hayes Street, I've never, all my years around here, I've never seen Hayes Street look the way it looks with those holes or whatever that's going on Hay Street. It definitely is an issue. And if you're trying to go around and the car's coming down, guess what? Eventually you're going to have to hit those holes, and they are bad. So that's all I have for tonight. But I'm grateful for the work that is being done in the city, but there are other issues that do need to be addressed and addressed urgently. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ms. Hunter. Just a couple things. One, can we look into the stop signs with the blinking lights? I don't know the cost, but we should look into it. The other thing is, I think Councilmember Herring sponsored this a while ago. I know we talked about the speed bumps, but it seems like I know that we have come to some hurdles as it relates to the Woodmore side, but we don't have anything holding us back from in wards, outside of Woodmore. So if it will be helpful, I mean, I'm on that road every weekday really, and I see people blowing through that signs too. In the spring, it's because the trees are there. In the winter, there's no excuse. So two things is, one, spring is around the corner. We might have to remove that tree that's on the end of those corners, because you just can't see the stop sign once that tree grows, once the leaves come on the tree. And two, in addition to that, in the blinking stop signs, allowing that area to have speed bumps. I can, if Councilman Herring wants to advocate more on it, but even on the Ward 2 side, and Councilman Harrison can advocate on it too, between MLK all the way up to get to Bright Sea Road, that can be a raceway as well. So we have, I believe, the money in the budget this year. Yeah, I know that there was some hesitation with the what will happen with the concrete in Woodmore, but I think we're fine. And unless you have any objections, Councilman Herring and Councilman Hairston, in your wards.
For speed bumps?
Yeah.
I guess I got to go out there and measure the street so I can give them the measurement so that they know how wide they are, because I'm not understanding why it's taking so long to order a speed bump. I really don't. I have no objections to it. I've been pushing it along with I know Councilwoman Ferguson and Councilman Hairston. We sponsored the legislation. So, I understand what the citizen is saying. That project is not really a hard project to do. And since you had most of the information and you came back and told us what speed bumps you were looking at, and I was like, okay, well, let's get some and do this to slow down this traffic, because Ms. Hunter is correct. I've been saying that for a while. They start at this light at 704 and don't stop until they get to Delwood. They run every stop sign from that light all the way down to Delwood. And I've been speaking on that. There's no speed patrols done. There's no radar done. It's like, it's a free fall, and somebody is going to get killed. One of them, somebody's child is going to get run over at that, on that stretch. And that's not only in Ward 1 and Ward 2, like you say, and the school buses are absolutely, every one of these public school buses should be reported for speeding the way they speed up Page Street.
That is true.
So. I have no problem with it. I just want to see it get done. So I'll go out there and I'll measure my streets in Ward 1 and give y'all some measurements. Then maybe y'all can then that'll be half of it's done, and I can go ahead and we can get the speed bumps done.
There's one other thing, Acting Captain Robinson, is that and I've said something to at least Glenarden Woods. Those buses are out of control. They will go onto oncoming traffic to bypass, cars and things like that, and they will speed. So it was very helpful when the officers were at the intersection. I know they were at Sylvania Woods and Glenarden Woods, but if at least one squad car during the school for Glenarden Woods dismisses at 3:40. Sylvania, I believe it's the same time. Am I correct? It's not? It's the latest? What time does Sylvania Woods let out? Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. And I thought I saw a sting on, I don't know if that's Dell Street or Johnson Street. So have the police not been active in, or is it just a police car sitting right there? No. It's been a Glenarden police car that's sitting on that street. I figured it was a sting because people were running that stop sign, but I guess it's not. Well, I know he's at the school, but there's well, if we can work in conjunction with what I spoke to City Manager Simpson about and the police department, just doing stings there, maybe in a plain, was it not plain clothes, but unmarked. Yeah. All right. Miss Yvonne Bell White.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, council members. President Curtis, I just wanted to share with everyone, you and I had a private conversation one year at Glenarden Day about how you treat the seniors. And I don't know that you realize how rude you come across. There are many seniors in Ward 2 that won't come to the meetings or don't want to speak up in fear of being halted when they're trying to complete their conversation. And so I told you before that I would bring it out publicly if you continue. I understand there is a rule that there's 5 minutes, but you've got to allow senior citizens to get their points across. Mrs. Wilson was coming to a close on what it was that she had to say. And before she can complete what she was saying, she understands the budget. She speaks up all the time. I just think it's very rude that you continue to cut our senior citizens off when I watched her take copious notes on questions on every point that was being addressed tonight. And I don't think that it's fair. And with that, I yield the rest of my time to Mrs. Wilson to complete whatever it is that she wants to say.
Thank you, Ms. Yvonne. Just point of clarity, not just for seniors, you could be a teenager, you could be middle-aged, you could be in 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. Doesn't matter. The job that I have is to maintain order of the meeting. And I'm really interested in the seniors that you're talking about because I'm not rude or disrespectful to anyone. My job is that when the time is up, as I tried to today, at the end of the time, the person, no matter what age they were at the podium, said they had several other things that they wanted to complete. And as a courtesy, I was going to allow her to finish that statement, but we could not get to the other things that she wanted to get to, and that I will stay behind to hear the concerns that she had.
You interrupted her time while she was speaking. You interrupted her while she was speaking.
Ms. Yvonne, your time, you've yielded your time, and you no longer have the floor. We did have a conversation a while ago, but it wasn't about me being rude to every senior citizen. It was two in particular, Ms. Wilson and Ms. Smallwood, who come to the meetings. I am not rude to every senior citizen in Ward 2 or Ward 3 or Ward 1. That has not been my character, never has been. My mother raised me the right way. As I stated, no matter who you are, it's not an easy job trying to manage these meetings, and it's not easy trying to interject when someone has a lot to say. I respect that people have a lot to say, but I also have to make sure that we're not here till 1 o'clock in the morning. I did the same thing to the mayor. She was speaking for 10 to 15 minutes. And I said, thank you. I tried to be courteous. I didn't just cut her off. I gave her some cues. I mean, I would welcome your advice if there are different cues that I can give to people who have expired time, but completely, vehemently disagree that with your characterization that I am rude to senior citizens when you're specifically talking about two individuals, and I won't get into that. So with that, are there any other citizens' comments. It is your time. You can clearly, no, ma'am, Miss Mayor. You have 5 minutes. And that is fine. And I will just forewarn you that if you do get to 5 minutes, I will gently interrupt you to let you know that your time is up and to complete your last point, and so that we can move on. But if you do need to go past 5 minutes, I am more than willing to sit back and listen to you. Thank you.
I'm Vanessa Armstrong, and I'm in Ward 1. And I think I talked to the manager, and I'm only up here. I was supposed to write a letter, but the letter never got started. But is there some way to inform the residents, especially in Ward 1, to keep their dog on a leash? Because when I'm walking my dog, I have to carry a cane and bear spray, because my dog, each one of my dogs that I've had been attacked at least 3 times. And the new trend now in Ward 1 is to let your dog out in front of the house. And I understand because you're cold, but my dog agitates dogs. And so meanwhile, there's like 5 people in Ward 1 that open their door and let their dog out right out front and try to scurry them back in. But every time I leave out, and there's one that has a pit bull on Tyler Street, I think it's 7903. And the dog coming after us. I had one night on Glenarden Parkway, there were 2 German Shepherds, big German Shepherds, and I'm trying to keep them on the other side. It was a mess. So, and I'm starting to see, it seems like it's starting to be a trend, because one dog owner sees a neighbor do it, and then they start doing it. So now my route gets smaller and smaller, because I'm scared to go down this Tyler Street because they got a pit bull. Then I'm scared to go down Glenarden Parkway because I'm afraid that those 2 German Shepherds will be loose. And then I have one across the street that's a little one, and I'm scared my dog is going to tear that dog up. So if we can just send out something specifically to have them keep their dog on a leash, I would appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, 2 minutes.
Councilwoman Jones.
Thank you, Ms. Armstrong, for that. I'm having the same issue over in Ward 3, and I was thinking what I was going to do is get with the code enforcement crew and ask them to help us put together a flyer to put in the newsletter, or a flyer that we can put in, go door to door. I want to do door to door in Ward 3, on 3 streets. Because yes, that is becoming a trend where these people are just letting their dogs out, and they're standing in your yard. You know, you're coming out to your car, or I'm coming out of the garage. I'm looking at my landscape to make, see where we are for the spring coming up. And there's a dog in my yard. I don't have a dog. It's a pit bull. Where did he come from? I don't really want to put a fence up, but I think I'm going to have to. But still, these dog owners need to know that there's a leash law, and the leash law needs to be enforced. Thank you.
And is it legal to have a pit bull in the county?
It's on litigation is on that right now.
Okay. All right. So we're going to work on the mailer for dogs and leashes. All right, are there any other public comments? No, ma'am.
Mr. President, may I right quick?
Yes.
Just before we wrap up, I just want to just say, and I meant to bring this up when on the city manager's comments. I actually reached out to the one of the representatives from Lerner Corporation about the annexation, and he got back. I sent him the letter that our attorney sent him. With our conditions. What I'm asking is that we have a meeting with our attorney, because I don't know if anybody looked at it or read the letter with the conditions, and I don't know if anybody's in agreement with those conditions. And I think the attorney, we need to meet with Mr. Best to have him explain the conditions that we're looking at, and if we have any problems with them, because that's where we got stuck last time. When it came down to the conditions, some council members were for it. They felt they didn't have enough information on it. They didn't feel they had a good enough explanation. They didn't want to give up this, they didn't want to give up that, and it's just, I think we need to get ahead of the curve. So like, they're looking at it now, and they say they'll probably get back to us with any comments they have. So But I think it's important that we meet with Mr. Best at some point, you know, sooner than later, to have him just go over the letter. I'm not sure if everybody saw it or read it. You might not have, but we need to move on that. One other thing, and this is personal. Mr. Cross, if you want to address me, you can either address me as Councilman Herring or Mr. Herring. Don't address me by my last name. I don't address you by your last name. I don't address your mayor by her last name. I mean, your wife. No, you did not. I heard what you said, but I'm just saying, let's don't do that. I appreciate you not doing that. Thank you.
One, I thank everybody for coming out. I'll just say that I hope that we could get to a place where we can communicate effectively, that we can be cordial to one another, even if we don't like one another. But it's been 4 years, and frankly, I'm tired. I mean, I take it because I've been lied on plenty times since taking this seat. But the lies got to stop. Never once have I gone out my way to be rude or mean to any senior citizen in life. It's just a lie, period. Now, I have taken disrespect from senior citizens, but I leave it there. So, you know, the lies that people tell will not prevail. It doesn't, you know, tear me down. It's just, it's old and it's tired. So I hope people who peddle these lies, as the one that was just peddled by citizens, I hope it stops. Because we have a lot of work to do, and we can get it done if we work together instead of trying to tear each other down. So with that,
Hey, Council President,
the
Mayor
time
Cross, I
is
have a question.
10:36. The meeting is now adjourned.
Okay, the mayor
Thank
is
you.
not in charge of Whitmore Town Center. They have an HOA. That is the responsibility of the HOA. You misspoke, Council President. No, you talk about truth and transparency. You are the most egregious attacker of every citizen in this room. You know darn well that they have an HOA, and to sneak that in to say that I was responsible for the road transfer, that was Beverly Haviger's to do. She did not.